your home for Kings talk and so much more.
Live and local.
Allen Stiles on Sacktown Sports.
Yes, yes, yes. Hope everyone had a great weekend. Monday is here. And you know what? That's the good thing about when games for the Kings, they're good things and bad things depending on what happens in those games. Kyle Ledbetter with us behind the glass. Allen Stiles here taking up to 2 p.m. When the Kings win, I'm so upset. If the Kings had went out and beat the you-know-what out of the Warriors, I would have been so upset that the game was on a Friday and that I don't get to come in to all of these Kings fans excited about the big win. You catapult yourself coming out of the All-Star break. We were at Doco. Styles Does Doco was a smashing success. Thank you to all the guests that came out there, people that said what's up to us. Jake Gaden, thank you so much. We would have been so excited. We would have been just upset, if you will. I mean, these are some of the days where I'm never upset to get some time off and to hang out with the family and to just relax. But these are the days where you're pretty happy that the game was on a Friday. Because if the game was on Thursday and I had to come in on Friday, that wouldn't have been a lot of fun. This is a really fun job, and I would never complain about it. But that would have been a rough go, and I'm pretty sure I would have said something that would have got me in trouble. And if you were listening to the Drive Guys on Friday, you probably heard them having some fun with me as my trip to get some food with our boss, our fearless leader, Jose, ended with me meeting someone from the Kings front office that I hadn't really seen before, know the name. I will not tell you who it was. And it was cordial, but it was definitely a, hey, what's up, man? Know who you are? Some conversations have been had. So to go from that, I was shook a little bit. I'm not going to lie. So to go from that to the beatdown in Golden One Center that Friday, if that all happened on Thursday, that Friday would have been rough. So I am glad that we don't have to spend too much time on the Warriors game because there wasn't much of a game to talk about. The Kings got their butts whooped. And it was embarrassing, and I felt really bad for the fans who paid those expensive prices for a Friday night just to have it completely ruined by halftime.
I don't know. The fans sounded like they were cheering in the building.
Well, yeah. It sounded like most of the fans there, and they get loud, I know, and they get obnoxious. I still think there are probably more Kings fans there. It just didn't sound like it.
Light the beam!
Yeah.
Light it!
Did not happen. And look, I'm not going to sit here and say I tried to tell y'all, but I did, and that's not about the Warrior. I do think the Warriors look really good. They won again yesterday, but it's just a numbers game, and the Warriors, they needed this game in multiple ways. They needed it for their psyche, they needed it for the standings, and they needed it for the tiebreaker. And like I said, they were just due. So we can live in a world where that game happened. You close the door on it, close the book. There's another chapter. I think it's March 13th. You get one more game against the Warriors, and at that point, again, you still are in position to get that tiebreaker. And Kyle went through what happens if you lose that game, and it gets dicey. You don't want to deal with that. You just want to win, and now you have to face the Warriors at home. But we have bigger fish to fry. Well, smaller fish, but they're bigger for the Kings because they need W's as they take on the depleted Hornets team today. And we were literally tonight, and we were just looking up who actually is playing. LaMelo is playing, and honestly, I'm kind of excited to see LaMelo play. He's one of those guys who I wouldn't call him, people will call certain quarterbacks Instagram quarterbacks and things like that because people love them on social media. They make a lot of highlights, like a Justin Herbert type, but they don't lead to winning games. Justin Herbert has won more than LaMelo, don't get me wrong. LaMelo's team has dealt with a ton of injuries. We had to Google who in the world is actually playing tonight. Mark Williams not playing tonight. Of course, Brandon Miller has been out. So it's going to be Miles Bridges, LaMelo, and Seth Curry, the other Curry. That's what we're going to see tonight. So we'll break all of that down. Also, before we leave the world of the Warriors and Kings game, waking up on, what was that, Saturday? You wake up on Saturday after the Kings just got embarrassed. And you talk about keeping your house in order. There is a rat. There is a rat in the building. There is a leak in the building. And good on Chris Haynes. Chris Haynes, we've been trying to go back and forth on getting Chris Haynes on the show. We almost got him during the trade deadline. That dude is busy as you know what. So we've been kind of missing each other, but we're really close to getting Chris Haynes on the show. His brother, Mark Haynes, does a lot of great work too. I sit next to
Chris
Mark
Haynes?
during a lot of the game. Yeah, the Haynes briefs. So Chris Haynes comes out of left field. Not Sam Amick, not Anthony Slater, not Jason Anderson, not Sean Cunningham, none of the suspects that you would expect. And Chris Haynes drops a Haynes brief. That's what he calls him on social media.
Chris Haynes, and you've been briefed.
And he comes out and says that there was a team meeting or a starters meeting with Doug Christie and the starters. I guess it was right after the game. So not the next day, right after the game. And you know what's funny? I'm not even going to lie to y'all. Because you know what, I got a small child, and when the starters come out, I leave. I'm sorry, I don't want to get stuck in that traffic, and that's just what it is. Frankie's there, Brendan's there. If you have taken out your starters on a Friday night against the Warriors, it's time for Allen Stiles to leave. So I left pretty early. Okay, so I'm cuddled up in bed, and I start seeing all of the normal posts that we see from Doug Christie and all the post games. And I'm wondering, in my mind, I thought, why are they coming out so late? But I didn't put two and two together until the next day when Chris Haynes comes out and says what he says. And then we find out from some of the local media members that they were just sitting there. And I'm trying to lay this out for y'all. It's a conference room. So you have no clue when they're going to come out. Right? So you're Frankie. Frankie was in the building. He's got the little one. You're Frankie. You're Brennan. You're whoever it is. You just have no clue when anyone's coming out. So they sat there for an hour just waiting. And no one gives you information, by the way. You just are there tweeting and talking to other media members. So they sat there for an hour, and it turns out it's because Doug was having some type of conversation with the team or with the starters specifically. So that gets out. Don't know how it got out. Don't know why it got out. But this is the type of stuff we're talking about. Other teams have leaks, but it's just so much drama. And you know what? I've talked about last season and how it was a bit boring. I'm not saying I would take last season over this season because, look, this is my job. And honestly, it's been more fun talking about the team this season than last season. It's been more of a mess, but it's been more fun. But with that being said, I don't know why this stuff keeps happening. How did Chris Haynes get this information? And good on him. Hell of a job. But how?
This is Chris Haynes, and you've been briefed.
How in the world did he get that? So I don't know what's going on. Then that leads into the practice. And during the practice, you have Keon Ellis in a black jersey. And I'm pulling up my phone here because everyone is freaking out. And if you're not aware, a black jersey tends to mean that you were with the starting group. So social media, I believe it was Sean Cunningham or somebody from local media posted, just the post game sound, and King's Twitter got a hold of it. And it's, oh my goodness, is Keon starting? Is Keon starting? Keon must be starting. Well, who's going to the bench? So I kept it pretty simple. I texted Sean Cunningham this morning, and I wanted to get some information on how this thing normally goes. Okay. So I asked Sean, hey, you were in the building. How does this normally work? Does that mean that one of the starters was not wearing a jersey? And Sean said, this whole thing has been blown out of proportion. He believes, not to say that it's not going to happen, but this thing could have been blown out of proportion because dudes sub in and out, right? So dudes sub in and out. And the same thing can happen with Trey Lyles, who you'll see him in a black jersey from time to time. So media doesn't really get into the gym until shooting drills and things like that. They don't get to see the scrimmages. So by the time they got in, there's no way, nobody knows what the situation is. All we know is that Keon was in a black jersey, but we don't know if that was from a sub or something like that. So if anybody has kind of ran away with, oh my goodness, Keon must be starting because he's in a black jersey. No, it's basically rotations. So Keon might have ended the scrimmage portion in the black jersey, and you can take what you will. but that does not mean that Keon will be starting tonight. Doesn't mean he won't be starting tonight, but in my opinion, it's kind of weird for me to hear that from Chris Haynes that the Kings starters and Doug Christie had a conversation, and the conversation, we're going to play that sound for you really soon here in about 10 minutes. You have a conversation, and then right after the conversation with your starters, you change the starters. That doesn't make a ton of sense to me. So we'll get to that, and we will break all of that down. The show is, like I said, we're moving on from the Warriors. We're going to have to see them again. I will have a conversation about Jimmy Butler and whether or not I was wrong on not wanting Jimmy Butler. But as we continue throughout everything that's happened in the NBA and just in the sports world as a whole, with Woj selling stuff, and Kyle might actually bid for something live on air, Woj's phone from breaking the Kevin Durant trade, who knows what it's going to be. So we'll have some fun with that. We talked about the meeting after the blowout, and I'll give you this much. There is a world. I sat down this weekend and I realized that there definitely is a world where Doug Christie is not the coach next season. I've been on these airwaves the whole time since he was named interim head coach, and I said there's no way, there's no possible way it happens. After what I saw on Friday, there's definitely a world. Now, it's basically a snowball effect, and maybe it's collateral damage, but this whole thing is connected. Okay, so I'll give you more detail on why I'm willing to have that conversation if this thing goes south on the other side. And last but not least, the good thing, I didn't like that the Kings only played on Friday because you had to sit on it all weekend, but it was nice just watching some basketball. And I know so many people complain about the product. They can, you don't want to watch, don't watch. But it was really refreshing for me to watch some basketball that I had absolutely no connection to. You had the ABC games are back, those highlighted games. And as I'm watching OKC and Minnesota and last night, and Anthony Edwards and that team of Jaden McDaniels, and they had that rookie that ended up getting hurting his head, who balled out for the Timberwolves, and Naz Reid doing his thing, getting into his bag with no Julius Randle, taking OKC to the brink. It really just made me sad, to be completely honest with you. And it really stinks that the Kings are not blowing it up, but in the midst of this weird interim being team, because outside of OKC and maybe with OKC, this thing truly is wide open. Watching the Nuggets and the Lakers and how the Lakers took care of business and how good they look right now. And I'm seeing some crazy lineups with the Nuggets where you're thinking, is that maybe we put the Nuggets on too high of a pedestal? And I got some more detail for that as well. They really could have had the Kings. They really could have had a nice second round run this season. I really do believe they could have. Just certain things just went in the wrong directions. And it is pretty sad. And it's not done yet. Like I said in the crosstalk, we're going to try to keep this thing positive. But, it all starts tonight. You don't beat this Hornets team, I don't know where you go. And all the things I talked about the future of this team, unfortunately, may come to fruition. All right. Like I said, we will tie a bow on the Kings versus Warriors on the other side and how bad everything was. But just how bad was it? Some of the most ridiculous lineups I think you could ever see. How do the Kings bounce back? 4 hours. We got you. Allen Stiles Show, Sacktown Sports.
You never know what you might hear when listening to a Sacramento Kings game.
Out of Keegan, going for another triple. Man, is he feeling it. Keegan, can he do it? Yes, there's number 11, Keegan Murray. Keegan steps back. He just knocked down his 12th three-pointer, a Kings franchise record. He's got 45 points.
Never miss a moment of Sacramento Kings basketball with Sacktown Sports and the Sacktown Sports app.
I started vaping my freshman year of high school, mostly because all my friends had vapes. I wanted to fit in with them and look cool and be a part of everything that they were doing. The hardest part about quitting for me was all my friends still hitting their vapes right next to me. It was really frustrating and confusing when I was trying to quit because in my head I knew I didn't want to do it anymore, but for some reason my brain still wanted it.
No quit story is the same. For free support, text Kick Nicotine to 66819 today.
What if your limited inventory had unlimited potential? What if your biggest risk was not taking one? What if you could make every move matter? Bank of America's business solutions can help bring your biggest what-ifs within reach. Find out how our digital tools, cutting-edge insights, and trusted expertise can work for your business. What would you like the power to do? Visit bankofamerica.com/banking for business to learn more. Bank of America is proud to be the official bank sponsor of FIFA World Cup 2026.
Allen Stiles. Watch the show on youtube.com/Sacktown Sports 1140.
Or listen on the Sacktown Sports app.
Kings Hornets. This is it, man. I mean, this is it. You don't get this one. And, honestly, it just turns into math. And I hate math. Always hated math. Algebra, geometry, algebra 2. I think that's where it ended for me.
98th percentile over here.
Yeah, that's not surprising. But it just becomes a numbers game. You don't win games against the Pelicans. You don't win games against the Hornets. You don't win games against the Jazz. And I'm worried about we're going to go through in the 1 o'clock hour. Obviously, we always do our previews. And I just have no clue what to expect. I know they should beat up on the Hornets. I think they will. But I have no clue. It's going to be, there's dudes that you've never heard of that you don't know what's going to happen with this team.
I know, just absolute bums like Tajon Salon, just awful players.
And that would be the icing on the cake. The guy that I wanted in the draft who went early has not looked good. If he has a career night tonight, I don't know what I'll do.
A career high of 8 points?
Yeah. I mean, he has not been good. And he's getting 20 minutes a game now. They didn't even want to play him, but there's so many injuries that they're being forced to. So you don't win tonight, and it's a problem. Again, want to tie a bow on the Kings Warriors game.
I was making a joke. His actual career high is 17.
There you go.
Tajon Salon might actually have a chance of beating that because he might play 35 minutes.
Sometimes I'll cook up some highlights of him. He likes to shoot the rock. Okay, he likes to shoot the rock. So we'll see. It is a shooter's gym. So we'll see what happens tonight with Tajon Salon and the Charlotte Hornets. Plenty to come on that. But again, I'm not taking this. Not a victory lap because the Kings lost. I guess it's a defeat lap on what happened Friday night against the Warriors. I tried to tell you it was not going to go well. But to me, the worst part of the game, it wasn't the X's and O's. It was the lack of fight. And I don't even have I sound like Kyle Draper here. I don't even have the box score up and, looking up the offensive rebounds. It felt like they had about 20. I know they didn't, but it felt like they had about 20. It looked like the Kings, they all ate a bunch of popcorn before the game. They could not grab onto any rebounds. Brandon Pajemski and just random dudes, they just played harder. And that was the scariest thing to me, not to get into the Doug Christie conversation already, but that was the scariest thing to me in that loss. Not the fact that they lost, not the fact that they got blown out, but it was the heart conversation. This is one of the first times where I questioned the heart of this team under Doug Christie. And you know what? It's not really his fault. It just doesn't matter that it's not his fault. Things happen. So I'm not saying that we're going to see that team again. We've already talked, and we will talk ad nauseum about the stretch in March and how rough that's going to be. And it's basically going to lay out what the season is. Okay. And we can look at this and say, well, the Warriors are kind of turning into a buzzsaw. They win last night again. Then the Mavs are still depleted, but they've been playing pretty well. But they got their butts whooped by the Warriors. The Warriors are 5-1 with Jimmy Butler. But to me, the worst part was obviously the turnovers were disgusting, but it was just the fight. It just looked like they were zombies. And I hadn't seen the Kings be in zombie mode under Doug Christie this whole time. And they've lost games. But that was the first time they just looked like nobody knew what they wanted to do. Zach LaVine, if I have to watch him in the corner any longer, and my prop talk was way off, okay? There's times where he thinks, okay, I need to be a point guard. There's times where he thinks, okay, I need to score, which often. And then there's just times where Zach LaVine's sitting in the corner. This was the worst. Hold on now. Again, because we've been really, really nice to Doug Christie, and he's been really successful. So those two things go hand in hand. And he's trying to figure it out. First game after the All-Star. I'm going to give him some grace. But I'll tell you this much. As God is my witness, if I ever see Jake LaRavia, Jonas Valanciunas, Zach LaVine, Keon Ellis, and Trey Lyles on the floor again at the same time, I'm going to lose it. That's one of the worst. I don't know what possessed them to think that lineup could work. That was awful. That was a terrible decision. Terrible decision. I don't know who is supposed to do what in that lineup, and I know it didn't play for very long. Don't play it ever again. That was terrible.
I mean, it is telling about the state of the Kings that they can't take 3 of their 6 core players off the floor.
And that's true.
Time.
And that's a great point. And again, as we'll get into what Sam Quinn had to say about ranking the front offices. We get all that. And so you're right, Kyle. Somebody has to be, but I mean, to be fair, 3 out of your 6. So I guess LaVine is core, but he's just not there yet, right? And Ellis is core, but he's still trying to figure things out. I mean, there's just not a point guard on that lineup.
Yeah, which we were having the conversation about, well, we think X player, Y player, and Z player should get more minutes. But to do that, you have to take minutes away from from player A, player B, and player C.
Yeah.
And it sounds like the answer is now, nope, we got to play the starters 35 minutes because if we take them all out at once, they don't have offense.
But I think that's where you're at. That's what's crazy. I know it's not realistic. And you know what? Going back to the Mike Brown era, that's why he was running these dudes into the ground like Tom Thibodeau. But, to your point, you're right. You should be able to have 2 guard starters on the floor and it not look terrible. But when those 2 guards, one is Zach LaVine, who's still trying to find his way, and the other is Keon Ellis, who Keon Ellis isn't really a point guard, a pure point guard, you have what looked like YMCA basketball to me.
Well, guess what? For all the people who are clamoring for Keon to go into the starting lineup, he better learn how to play point guard because he's going to be the point guard in that lineup.
You better learn point guard.
Yeah.
And it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen within the next 20 whatever games are left. The other part of some of the lineups that we saw, honestly, I feel like Patrick Ewing. Remember Patrick Ewing when he was coaching Georgetown and that famous meme where he says, "You practiced that shot?" I do wonder if, and maybe this was, let's find a spark, right? Because I've been really high on Jake LaRavia. That brother's shot has just not shown up yet, but I still believe in him. It's just we're running out of time here, and this is basically a tryout. Maybe we will get Jake. Maybe his shot won't go back, and you get to re-sign him.
He'll sign him on a 3-year, $12 million contract.
If his shot doesn't come back. So I'm looking at this thinking, I understand, things were going south, and I'm not going to harp too much on this lineup. It just was jarring to me, to be completely honest with you. But I would look at this and say, out of all, it's Warriors Friday night. You can get the tiebreaker, which is huge. And this is the lineup you cook up. Just like Patrick Ewing said, you practice that shot. I would say, do you practice that lineup? How much time did that lineup see on the floor to fire it up on a Friday night with expensive bleeping tickets against the Warriors who are coming for blood?
So
not the time. Try that out tonight. Try that lineup out tonight against the G League Hornets. Not on Friday.
So there are many times where I will be watching the game and I will have the computer up and I'm adding notes and I'm adding fun stats like halftime numbers and Sabonis has done this for the 4th time this year and all that. And for this game, I just felt like the old Bill Belichick quote of the simplest answer is sometimes the right answer, which is this was 2 teams that had the same record at the halfway point of the season. And then you saw one team that made a significant upgrade at the trade deadline, which was the Golden State Warriors trading for a guy who led the Heat to the finals less than 2 years ago in exchange for Andrew Wiggins, and against a team that got worse, i.e. the Sacramento Kings trading away an all-NBA point guard in De'Aaron Fox for a dude in Zach LaVine who, like you said, sits in the corner and shoots threes and also plays a lineup with Jake LaRavia, Trey Lyles, Jonas Valanciunas, and Keon Ellis at the same time. That's the simplest answer I can give you, is just a team that got better at the trade deadline and is making a push for the playoffs, for better or for worse, beat a team that got worse at the trade deadline and is kind of in that we don't know what direction they're going, but we'll find out in the offseason territory.
On the other side, we hear from Chris Haynes, his Haynes brief on the meeting that happened after the game. And let's take some guesses on how in the world this thing leaks. Kyle, let's go ahead and open up the phone lines, 916-339-1140. How are you feeling about your Sacramento Kings? If you were in the camp of not blowing it up, has that changed at all? It's just one game, right? They win tonight against the Hornets. They beat the Jazz at the end of the week, and they're back, right? Right? Allen Stiles, Sacktown Sports.
On the move? Got somewhere to be?
Take Sacramento Kings basketball with you. The Sacktown Sports app will let you stay connected to your passion. Never miss a moment of Sacramento Kings basketball with the Sacktown Sports app.
Hey, everybody, it's your boy Drapes, Kyle Draper from Mercedes-Benz of Stockton. All right, I know what you're thinking. Here we go again, another Drapes commercial for his guys and girls down there at Mercedes-Benz of Stockton. But trust me, listen to this. Whether you're in the market for a new vehicle or a pre-owned vehicle, Mercedes-Benz of Stockton, they'll take care of you. Trust me, they got certified pre-owned vehicles starting at 3.49 APR on select 2021, 22, and 23 models. And take it from me. When you go to Mercedes-Benz of Stockton, you leave out feeling like you're valued, like they trust you, like they care for you. Matter of fact, it's like they're your family. That's right. So for over 30 years, Mercedes-Benz of Stockton has been there for the entire community. And get this, it's not that far away, guys. Just a short drive down I-5, or of course, online anytime at mbfstockton.com. So head on down to Mercedes-Benz of Stockton and tell them Drape sent you.
Things are just better when you switch to Cricket. The sun shines a little brighter. Happy music starts randomly playing. Best of all, you can get iPhone 13 for just $29.99 with the ultra bright Super Retina display and up to 19 hours of video playback, all on Cricket's super fast 5G network. See, isn't that better? Smile, you're on Cricket.
Requires new account imported on $60 plan. First service charge and tax to with sale. $25 activation fee. Terms and restrictions apply. Cricket 5G is not available everywhere. See store for details.
Progressive presents Renter's MVP's Most Valuable Possessions. Today's MVP, Emily Neal's 70-inch TV. Because after watching her second-grade students yell at each other for hours, there's nothing Emily enjoys more than watching super rich housewives also yell at each other. Why? Because those women are not her responsibility. And that's why her TV is today's MVP. Keep your most valuable possessions protected by bundling your renters and auto insurance with Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers not available in all states.
Our daughter Jessie loves playing detective.
A clue.
But since we discovered she has sensitive skin, we've been playing detective too.
We thought the problem was our puppy.
But it was actually our old detergent.
Aha.
So we switched to Tide Free and Gentle. Tide Free and Gentle provides an excellent Tide clean, and it doesn't leave behind irritating residues like dyes or perfumes. So it's gentle on your skin.
Case closed.
If it's got to be clean, it's got to be Tide Free and Gentle.
What if your limited inventory had unlimited potential? What if your biggest risk was not taking one? What if you could make every move matter? Bank of America's business solutions can help bring your biggest what-ifs within reach. Find out how our digital tools, cutting-edge insights, and trusted expertise can work for your business. What would you like the power to do? Visit bankofamerica.com/banking for business to learn more. Bank of America is proud to be the official bank sponsor of FIFA World Cup 2026.
Allen Stiles. Watch the show on youtube.com/Sacktown Sports 1140.
Or listen on the Sacktown Sports app.
Nine 916-339-1140. About to get to the phone lines. We have this Chris Haynes audio we want to get to as well, and why it got out. Kyle and I were talking during the break. Why would it get out? Would the Kings want it to get out? I don't think so. To let people know, hey, we're trying to figure this out. Something like that. I don't know. You know, real quick, like I said, I had to look up this because if you play in the NBA, I want to give you a level of respect. And quick note, when I was talking about how open the NBA is right now parity. And, I do think it's another note. I'll never forget. I know this guy, people go back and forth with him on some of his takes, but, Colin Cowherd is a guy who I used to watch a lot when I was trying to get into the business and things like that. And he said something that always stuck with me, how, people he likes to reference March Madness, college football, but also the pros, in that people think they like parity, but they actually don't. And they more so like we talked about with LeBron and the Cavs or the Warriors when they were rolling, they like to hate watch. A lot of people like to hate watch. And as I look at the parity within the NBA, it should feel like a really good thing. But, the numbers would say otherwise, because there's nobody to come around and we all hate this team, or we all love this team, or half of us love them, half of us hate them, going to the Chiefs and things like that. The NFL probably wanted the Chiefs to win again. Why? Not because they actually care whether they win or lose, but there's more hate watching to be had. Now that the Chiefs I know they're always around, but now that the Chiefs have lost, it's kind of lost its luster a little bit. So when I look at the parity in the NBA and I discuss the Nuggets, this was the lineup. I had to get this guy's name. So I'm watching Lakers Nuggets. And again, I feel bad because the Kings could be in this conversation to just go on a nice run. It's Jokic. Okay. And people are saying, oh my goodness, JJ, look at that defense on Jokic. This was the lineup. It was Jokic, Westbrook, Brown, Gordon, and the dude that I wanted to look up, because Julian Strother got into a really bad foul trouble. It was Hunter Tyson. Hunter Tyson was the last guy. So it was those four dudes and Jokic. And I'm thinking, man, if these are the normal, and I know Julian Strother is better, but I mean, even if you replace Hunter Tyson with Julian Strother, you look back at what the Nuggets did in that 9-game winning streak, and Jokic even said it himself, we may have tricked ourselves into thinking that we're a good team because they beat some bad teams. So even the teams that I'm sitting here saying, oh, you got to avoid the Nuggets championship this, Michael Malone said, we don't even have any defense. Our offense has just been really good against bad teams. This is the quote. We had the 9-game winning streak against teams that were injured and teams that were not really good or high in the standings. So maybe we tricked ourselves into thinking that we are playing good. That's from Jokic. So this thing is wide open, right? And it stinks that the Kings aren't really in a position to take advantage of this. And instead, we're having conversations about meetings after games, and we don't even know how that got out. So we're about to get to the phone lines. But Kyle, let's play what you wake up this morning or Saturday morning after the shellacking, and Chris Haynes says, oh yeah, I wouldn't call it drama, but there's more information coming out of the Kings camp. Here it is.
Chris Haynes, and this is your Haynes brief for today. After the Kings suffered an embarrassing loss to the Golden State Warriors Friday night at home, losing by 24, league sources then informed me that Kings interim head coach Doug Christie called for a meeting after the game with his starting unit. That unit consisted of Malik Monk, DeMar DeRozan, Keegan Murray, Zach LaVine, and Sabonis. Now, first and foremost, in that meeting, I was told that Christie reiterated how he's in the fight with them, but there were some issues he wanted to address, such as making sure that everyone understood the gravity of the situation right now. He addressed ball security. He talked about how they've been compromising on defense. He wanted to make sure everyone was on the same page. He spoke on learning how to communicate with each other, and he challenged his players to challenge each other in a positive way to yield some positive results. This is Chris Haynes, and you've been briefed.
Thanks, Chris.
The music is crazy.
I mean, it's just, I felt like, whoa, what's going on here? I thought it was a news network. I think that's all kind of part of the bit. Great stuff from Chris Haynes.
I hope so, because he needs an editor for these things.
No.
Man. Like the music I had to edit it myself. If on the original clip, the music just comes in at 100 and then his voice is too low.
Well, I've been watching it the whole time, and it's slowly but surely he's adding bells and whistles.
They're also sponsored, I see.
Yeah, of course. There you go. Thank you, Kyle. All right, so I don't really know how this got out. A couple people, shout out to the Sack Chat, haven't given you a shout out yet, and to the texters, 916-339-1140, about to get to the phone lines. I don't know how this gets out. Some people are saying, well, if you're waiting for an hour, of course there's going to be questions. Again, I don't want to get in trouble, as I have run into a couple people that are higher up here, but I will say this. I mean, it hasn't stopped. They have not had a problem with not saying anything before.
Wait, I'm confused right now. Didn't they say who the executive was that you ran into?
No, they did not.
Oh, okay.
People guessed it, but they did not.
Oh, okay.
They did not.
Let's do this. If we get to 100 likes on the YouTube, I will snitch on who Allen ran into.
Do it from a burner. So you have a conversation going on where it's, oh, well, they kind of felt like they maybe had to say something. Like I said, that's never stopped the Kings before from not saying something. I find it hard to believe, just from what I've heard, that the Kings said, oh my goodness, this was this was such a big deal that everyone waited an hour. Let's go ahead and tell Chris Haynes, and only Chris Haynes, that the starters had a conversation with Doug Christie. I don't see that happening, right? The last thing I would think that the Kings want is kind of more smoke to this fire. So I don't know how it got out. And, it's hard for me. I know the Keon Ellis thing, if you're just now joining us, I spoke with Sean Cunningham. Keon Ellis was wearing a black jersey, which can denote a starter, but it also can just denote that you were playing with the starting unit. So there is no confirmation that Keon is starting tonight, which doesn't mean that he isn't. But it's hard for me to think that they had a conversation with the starters, and then the very next game they changed the starters. When Chris Haynes was talking about the gravity of the situation, one thing that stuck out to me was that Doug Christie has the most to lose here. These contracts, the starting unit outside, I mean, Keegan is going to get paid, right? Whether that's with Sacramento or somewhere else. But these contracts are guaranteed, right? And even for coaches. But Doug Christie isn't on a deal like Mike Brown. He's an interim head coach. So when you talk about the gravity of the situation, I'm curious, and maybe we'll find out what exactly Doug said, because DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, Malik Monk, they're all doing well for themselves. So the gravity, you're going to be employed next season. The most gravity of this situation is on Doug Christie. So I found that little note interesting. And outside of the turnovers and things like that, when we talk about the quote unquote gravity of the situation, Doug Christie has the most to lose if this thing goes south. Everybody else is kind of okay.
Or at least in the grand scheme of things.
In the grand scheme of things.
They might not be in Sacramento, but they will be around.
Or they will be, because you can't just, it takes two to tango. Right? I mean, maybe a Malik Monk, but Zach LaVine doesn't figure it out. That brother is stuck in Sacramento.
Yeah.
Nobody is trading for him.
They signed up for 2.5 years of Zach LaVine, and probably could have still gotten him this offseason if they hadn't chosen to make the trade. Now, I mean, in the Haynes brief, he gives like some really detailed information about what was discussed in that meeting. And maybe the meeting wasn't like just private. Maybe there were other people in the room, but if it were, there's only 6 people that would know the details of the meeting. Right. So therefore you can deduce
that's true
who it came out to. And again, I'm just speculating. I don't know who else was in the room, how truly private it was, or if it was a team meeting where Doug is talking specifically to the starters. But if it is a true one-on-one meeting, then there's only 6 people privy to the information. And Chris Haynes is super plugged in Sacramento, obviously from the area. He's super plugged into Kings stuff. So, someone just talked about what it was, which is fine.
916-339-1140. Let's get to the phone lines. Let's kick it off with Brendan, who wants to be part of the conversation. What's up, Brendan? What you got for us?
What's up, Allen? I just feel like you need a friend right now, my guy.
Yeah.
You need to be talked off a ledge here or something.
Help me then. Help me, Brendan.
Dude, I mean, I guess I get where you're coming from. I mean, just hearing the Haynes reporting and everything too, and they're not at the greatest spot as a team. I guess from my perspective, I don't know that it's like the most shocking thing, though. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, I think that this is kind of the same issues that this team has had all year, pre and post deadline, just kind of coming to a head in a way. But I guess my question to you, is there anything specific from like that Warriors game, or maybe it's the fact that they are having these meetings and stuff that's like specifically got you kind of, for lack of a better word, freaking out?
Hold on, is this Brendan Nunez?
It is.
Oh, Brendan. I wasn't in insider mode. Oh, thanks for calling, Brendan. Now I understand all this. So, Brendan, I mean, I think the biggest thing to me is, like I said, it was just how things looked, and it's just a numbers game. How bad you feel is really just based upon what you expect, right?
Right.
So to me, the best I think the Kings can do is 7 or 8. And honestly, I'm looking more at 8. So in my perspective, you drop the Warriors game, it is what it is. We'll know a lot more about this team, I think, in some way after tonight. But to me, I'm just thinking if you mess around and you're a 10 or just find a way, and I don't even think it's possible, I guess, if the Suns figure it out or you miss the play-in, I just think that it's just a complete nightmare of a situation. So there's no real the ledge is if I had expectations. I don't really have that high expectations. But if you don't even meet those, then we have a problem.
Yeah, that's fair. I definitely get where you're coming from. And, makes me wonder what this offseason could eventually look like. And like you pointed out, Doug, I think that in my mind, Doug is fairly safe. That's not to say that, there couldn't be something that would take place there. And I think that you're spot on. What was that?
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
Oh, you're good. You're good. I see. I think his job's fairly safe, but obviously that's not to say that things couldn't go wrong there. But I mean, it's pretty obvious he's got good ties with the organization, being on the Walton staff. And then, Mike Brown didn't pick him to be on his staff, and he's the one that gets the promotion. And he almost got the job when Luke was let go in the first place. Not that I necessarily agree with any of that, but just what is this offseason going to look like? You can't imagine that DeMar is enjoying his time in Sacramento, and this isn't what he imagined he signed up for at all, as a guy that's trying to contribute to some notably winning basketball later in his career. But stylistically, they have a bunch of flaws they need to work out. The turnovers were horrible in that Golden State game. Doug mentioned that they need to be shooting more threes. That's something that I thought Levine would probably be the biggest addition that he brought to this team that we haven't really seen. And it's not clicking right now. And you don't have the perimeter defense out there. I don't know. Maybe we see a starting lineup change, but I don't even know. It's hard to say that that's going to be DeMar in my mind.
Right.
Specifically, if we're talking closing lineup, I think DeMar has to be out there. And, maybe you shouldn't care about the optics, but the optics are really tough if you sit Zach Levine after doing all this. And part of trading De'Aaron is you're kind of handing some keys to Malik there. So you're already willing to give up on that in a way, or maybe not give up is the right way to say it, but if you get what I mean there. So, I guess as I'm talking it through, it is a fairly gloomy outlook. I guess, my perspective is like you said, it's based on expectations, right?
Yeah, we're up against it, Brendan, but thanks for calling in. Should give me a heads up. I would have given you a whole segment, Brendan. You hop on StreamYard. How about we do it before the weekends, or we'll just do roundtable?
Yeah, we'll figure it out. I'm down. I'll be around.
Thanks, Brendan. I'm still on the ledge, but thank you, sir.
Yeah, I appreciate you. Talk to you later.
That was Brendan Nunez, Sacktown Sports Kings insider. Mike, you kick us off on the other side. We are way over time. We'll pay some bills and get right back. Allen Stiles, Sacktown Sports.
The only place you'll find Malik Monk is Sacktown Sports.
Oh my, what an athletic move that time by Malik Monk.
Hey Sacramento, it's Malik Monk, and you're listening to the home of the Sacramento Kings, Sacktown Sports.
Your local sports leader.
You ever try fixing your car and realize you're missing that one part? Yeah, been there. That's why eBay's my go-to. They've got millions of parts, guaranteed to fit. I'm talking brake pads for when yours have seen one too many miles of stop and go. Oil filters, because you don't mess around with your engine care. Even got this cold air intake on my watch list. I might just go for it. To keep the ride cool and your DIY streak high. Find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Tired of hearing scary radio ads about the IRS? Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000 or $500,000, we have a solution. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS with zero risk to you. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with a BBB. End your tax nightmare today by visiting TRA.com or call 800-275-1728. That's 800-275-1728.
Drivers who switch and save with Progressive could save hundreds. With that kind of money, you could go big time. The next time you're out to dinner with friends, you can order the shrimp cocktail for the table. And maybe you'll realize it only comes with 4 shrimp after you've already given away 3, but that one shrimp will be so good. And if you switch and save hundreds, you could get shrimp all the time. Switch to Progressive and you could save big time for shrimp. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in all states. Potential savings will vary.
At Wells Fargo, we know what got you into your business, whether it's manufacturing, running a restaurant, or your business from home. What you didn't get into your business for was banking. But luckily, Wells Fargo offers business checking, payments, and lending all in one place, in your neighborhood and on our app, so you can focus on doing what you love. Wells Fargo, you're good at business, we're good at business banking. Learn more at wellsfargo.com/business. Terms apply. Wells Fargo Bank and a member FDIC.
If you're 55 and up, T-Mobile has plans built just for you. 2 lines of unlimited for just $30 a line. That's a 45% savings compared to Verizon and AT&T. But don't just take our word for it.
It's not just the savings that are great with our T-Mobile plan. There's all this value from all these other things that T-Mobile offers. T-Mobile has been such a savings for us.
We love it.
Switch today and get 2 free 5G phones like the Motorola Edge with Turbo Power charging that gives you power for the day in just 15 minutes. And customers 55 and up can get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for only $30 a line. Go to T-Mobile.com/choice55 to learn more. With AutoPay plus taxes and fees, plus $5 per line without AutoPay. Debit or bank account required. 45% off 2 lines versus AT&T Starter and Verizon Welcome. Plan benefits vary. Motorola Edge on us with 24 monthly bill credits and new line. Well-qualified customers plus tax and $35 per line connection charge. See details at T-Mobile.com. Motorola Edge requires 68-watt charger. Charger sold separately. Actual performance will vary based on usage and configuration.
During tax season, your info travels lots of places you can't control.
W-2 arriving from payroll platform 3.
Everything criminals need to steal your identity is on your W-2. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points per second.
Tax preparation data centers with service to IRS. All aboard.
If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS. Visit LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
No 2 people learn the exact same way. So how did Babbel become the award-winning language learning app? We thought of you, all of you. Take Sierra. As a visual learner, she uses Babbel's wordplay videos.
Today I'll share a quick lesson on shopping in French.
Merci beaucoup. Keith is a be in the room with real people kind of learner. So he loves the live online classes with our language experts.
Okay, class. Vos está pronto.
Estamos prontos.
However you learn, Babbel makes it easy. Try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
Sacramento's premier country music festival, Country in the Park, is coming back May 16th and 17th at Cal Expo with Bailey Zimmerman, Billy Currington, Cole Wetzel, Nate Smith, and more. You'll enjoy food trucks, rock walls, and a mechanical bull, line dancing, and more. Single day GA tickets start at $52 at CITPfest.com. Country in the Park, May 16th and 17th with the California Army National Guard. Find out more at CITPfest.com.
Allen Stiles
You can join the show by texting 916-339-1140
on Sacktown Sports.
Thanks to Brendan Nunez for the impromptu call. We'll have Brendan back on the show and does great work for us. Follow him on social media. Also, all of his work on SacktownSports.com. I read a bunch of these texts, and we have Christie's Cuts coming up. But Mike has been patiently waiting, so we're going to kick it off with Mike, 916-339-1140. If you want to be part of the conversation, what's up, Mike? What you got for us?
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Good. How you doing?
Well, I'm doing pretty good. Besides the big loss to Golden State, but a couple things stood out to me in that game. And basically, since the trade, they have point guard and they have a good backup. So I don't understand why the Kings let Fox go, no point guard back. We let McLaughlin go, who was with the Kings all offseason and to start this season. So he knows the squad. He's gone. And we bring in Levine, who's only good if he has a point guard. Every top team, even the not so top teams, have a point guard. Like you got the Chris Pauls, the Currys, the Garlands. I can go on and on. Like, you know, I just feel like whoever's running the show should be held responsible. For the Kings, you got no point guard. Everybody knows you need a point guard, and all I've ever heard since the trade is Monk's going to do it.
Right.
Well, I feel like, I don't know about you guys, but I feel Monk is kind of being exposed. He's not that guy. He's a great guy. He's a great player. He's a hustler. He's a heart of the Kings.
Mm-hmm.
But you're making him play a position that he's not really playing. So I hope, I don't know what you guys think, that Fultz can step in and fill that role. If the Kings start to slip, as a fan, I want them to play Fultz or the guy from the G League, because it's not like we can just go get a point guard.
Right.
Does this make sense to you guys? Like, we're not doing well without a point guard.
Yeah, you make some great points, Mike, and I have some numbers. Thanks for the call. I have some numbers from the great Deuce Mason. He had this to say. He posted this about 40 minutes ago. Kings focused a lot on spacing and movement the last couple days. The turnovers and stagnant play have really hurt them. Before the trade, 13 turnovers per game. That's good for fifth. 12.3 fast breaks points allowed. That was second, so that's really good. 46.2 points in the paint allowed. That's good for sixth, so that's really good. After the trade, from 13 turnovers, as far as being fifth in the league, to 18.1 turnovers per game, good for 29th. That's terrible. 17 fast break points allowed. That's good for 25th. Also terrible. 55.8 points in the paint allowed to their initial 46.2, which was sixth. Now they're at 55.8. That's good for 27th. So that's really bad. And, you know, to Mike's point, look, man, am I a bit of a Malik Monk defender? Yes. Okay. So I'm going to say it like this. You're not wrong, Mike, but let's not forget that there was a counter. De'Aaron Fox, we also, and I don't really know, you know, what they're doing out there in San Antonio, but De'Aaron Fox goes out there and they still have Chris Paul, right? So kind of this tandem guard thing, that's what a lot of people do. You mentioned Darius Garland. Well, Darius Garland has Donovan Mitchell, who isn't a point guard per se, but he can handle the rock. So to me, before we start pointing our fingers at Malik Monk, who needs to play better, he can't shoot right now, we need to point our fingers at Zach LaVine. Now, you could say that's on the front office for bringing in Zach LaVine, but that's where I'm at, because Zach LaVine's fit is making Malik Monk look worse. I don't think that we know yet and I heard the morning show saying it's a lot different when you're running the show, or it was Frankie. And shout out Frankie Cardicelli, new dad. Frankie saying it's a lot different when you're circled on the, you know, on the scouting report, and Malik Monk is getting used to that. But there's a dude on your team making, what is it, $45 million? That dude should be circled. You're paying Zach LaVine nearly $50 million. So Malik Monk should still be able to do Malik Monk stuff. To me, the issue isn't as much of Malik Monk as it is you're not getting enough from Zach LaVine. So yeah, if you're not getting anything from Zach LaVine, who you're paying upwards of $45 million, then yeah, Malik Monk is going to look exposed. You need Zach LaVine to be whatever it is that he is or he was in Chicago, and then Malik wouldn't look so quote-unquote exposed. Everybody needs another dude, right? Yeah, Malik isn't Luka Doncic or some of these other ridiculous point guards that are out here. He's no Trae Young, don't get me wrong, but when you don't have a number two and Zach LaVine's just sitting in the corner, that's going to make Malik Monk look worse. I'm a Malik Monk apologist. I'll be completely honest with you. I'll wear it. But to me, if Zach LaVine was cooking and Malik is just throwing the ball all over the place, then I would have a conversation. But Markelle Fultz can play, he can not play. If Zach LaVine doesn't produce, this whole thing is a waste of time. That's the reality of the situation.
Yeah, let me just rephrase it in a way that maybe people haven't said yet. Of the 6 core players for the Sacramento Kings, they have 4 two guards.
Yeah.
DeMar DeRozan plays the 3 for the Sacramento Kings, but he can't guard 4s, and he's probably better off guarding 2s. So they basically have 4 2 guards.
I think, and we've seen Malik, but again, now there's 2 conversations to be had. Can Malik be a point guard 100% of the time? Maybe not, right? But I do think that he could be serviceable in a way that he was serviceable with De'Aaron Fox if Zach LaVine kind of does his thing. To me, it's the same thing, and I'm going to take it to baseball. It's the same thing as somebody at a premium position take it as center field or shortstop, right? Obviously, everybody wants to play center, okay? And I've told the story before about how I was in center. I got bounced to left field for a dude who ended up going to AA, so I'm okay with that, right? But you look at you look at Major League Baseball's draft. They draft a bunch of catchers, pitchers, shortstops, and center fielders, and then you figure out the best of the best, and you go from there. Malik Monk can handle the rock. He's not an elite point guard. Maybe he'll get there. I don't know. But if you don't, if you are, I don't think Aaron Judge necessarily is a perfect center fielder, but when you have help on the corners, you can have somebody in center that's not a pure center fielder like Ken Griffey Jr. Malik Monk, as a point guard, he's getting there. But on top of that, hey, Malik, you're going to go from on the bench to a starter. Then you go from starter to a point guard. And on top of that, we're going to give you Zach LaVine, who doesn't really know where he fits in the offense and is going to sit in the corner and not help you at all. That to me, again, we've said this before with this team, not setting your players up for success. So do I think Malik Monk is the next Steve Nash? Absolutely not. But he's not getting a lot of help either. All right, Christie's cuts on the other side. We have mostly Christie's cuts from practice yesterday. We also have some sound from DeMar DeRozan. And when I tell you that I don't think that people wanted this report or this meeting to get out, when you hear DeMar DeRozan's voice, I think you'll agree with me. Allen Stiles, Sacktown Sports.
You never know what you might hear when listening to a Sacramento Kings game.
Out of Keegan, going for another triple. Man, is he feeling it. Keegan, can he do it? Yes, there's number 11, Keegan Murray. Keegan steps back. He just knocked down his 12th three-pointer, a Kings franchise record. He's got 45 points.
Never miss a moment of Sacramento Kings basketball with Sacktown Sports and the Sacktown Sports app.
Power Business Technology is proud to be a 100% independent, locally owned and managed Toshiba copier dealer. Local ownership cuts out the red tape, allowing ourselves to never be too busy to personally answer the call when our clients need us. Recognized for excellence in service execution, training, and customer service, we're proud to be named a Toshiba ProMasters Elite Dealer since 2021. Contact us today for all your business printing needs at 844-POWER-BZ. That's 844-769-3729 or visit us at powercopiers.com.
The huge President's Day sale is on at Maida Chevy, Sacramento's Silverado headquarters. Save $10,250 off MSRP after rebates on new half-ton Silverado LT after rebates with over 50 in stock. And Maida Chevy has one of the largest selections in the Sacramento area. $10,250 off new 2025 Silverado at Maida Chevy. Now that's big, huge. See them all at MaidaChevy.com. Together, let's drive.
I'm George Washington, and I approved this message. Not available with special financing, lease, and some other offers. 5 to the South, Mustang 2011 or newer Chevrolet.
T-Mobile 5G home internet keeps getting better. Get our fastest connection loaded with benefits. Get T-Mobile's best home internet starting at $55 a month with auto pay and any voice line. Plus, Price Lock. We won't raise your rate on internet. Check availability at T-Mobile.com/home internet.
Exclusions like taxes and fees apply. Guarantees regular monthly rate plan price of fixed wireless 5G internet data with qualifying service. After $15 bill credit with postpaid voice line plus $5 a month without auto pay with debit or bank account. Regulatory fees included for qualifying accounts. $35 connection charge applies. Speeds vary due to factors affecting cellular networks.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-235-5588. That's 800-235-5588. 800-235-5588. Taking your workout to the next level can be as easy as trying something new. At InShape Fitness, that includes small group training classes like boxing or rowing, or spending a little more me time in the sauna. We are InShape. You are ready. Join online at InShape.com.
KHD KHD1 Sacramento, KYMX HD3 Sacramento. From the Power Business Technology Toshiba Studios.
Sacramento's official home of the 49ers.
San Francisco.
Sacktown Sports 1140. Your home for Kings talk and so much more.
Live and local.
Allen Stiles on Sacktown Sports.
Gotta get the Hornets. I feel good about it. Like I said, I'm trying to be optimistic here. I feel good about it, but you gotta get you have to get the Hornets. We have conversations about Doug Christie coming up, and we are going to get into all that. And speaking of Doug Christie, without further ado, Kyle, let's get on in to Christie's Cuts.
Pretty simple, stagnant, 24 for 38 points. Won't win you a game, I don't think, anywhere in the world. So what you got? I had some conversations with them just a little while ago. Is like they have to be better. Like you are put in positions to play with pace, play with tempo. There's a lot of different ways to play with pace. You can have a speedy guy, you can advance the ball up the court, but one way that we need to do it is we need to make sure that we are passing, cutting, moving, all the things that you just described that are not happening. And first of all, if they're scoring every time, you have to get into something. You can't just go up the floor and just think that you're going to play the random basketball. And that is where they have to be better as a group. And they understand that man for man. And we'll be better, but that still is an excuse and it still ain't acceptable. So yeah, sometimes the universe conspires for you. It hasn't in certain areas. And today and yesterday I thought were really good days where the light was flickering and the light came on. Now we need to obviously do it on the stage, but there were a lot of really good things like them starting to ask questions, correct each other. There are things like that I feel special teams and teams that start to take those steps up the ladder that they do. And I've seen a lot of it on both sides, on offense and defense. And those are conversations that have to be had. It's like I can continue and we as a staff can show you film and show you breakdowns and all those things, but not until you own it and then you guys start correcting each other does it take that real magical leap. For they always feel like they can say whatever they need to say, good or bad or indifferent, it doesn't matter. And when that happens, and I was blessed obviously to be an assistant coach, and I mess with those guys, every single one of them. I talk to them in a way that I never have changed as a head coach, even though, the title changed, how I approach you, what I say in the morning to you, how all those things stay the same. So hopefully that safe place stays and they have the ability to feel like they're comfortable enough to come talk to me. And so far, so good. Now I have to also build that with new players, and then I have to build that with new units. And then bench units, like there are different little sects within a team that you have to be able to address. And trying to do all of that is time consuming and tough, but it's actually the part probably that I enjoy the most because it's relationship based with the players, which I truly care for them all.
Great stuff from Doug Christie. I don't know if you caught that at the beginning. So the first clip we played was from the post game, and then after that was from practice. Did you notice how he said, in order to push the pace and be in transition, quote, you can have a speedy guy? And I don't know if he did it. I don't think he did it on purpose, but obviously he goes on to say we have to do it in different ways from cutting and things like that. But you did have the speedy guy. And look, I'm not going to sit here and turn De'Aaron Fox into an all-world player because that would be disingenuous, and I don't think he is. But a lot of that was just a kind of a funny note as we looked at the numbers that Deuce Mason kind of pulled, talking about the fast break points and the turnovers and things like that. This is a different team. And this is why, look, the Luka thing is different. Luka is one of those guys you can put on any team, and he's going to make you better. Not that Nico Harrison feels that way in the Mavericks, but most people do. So that was a move for the future and also a move for the present with LeBron. You just gave LeBron exactly who he needed, someone that can space the floor and be LeBron when LeBron needs a break at 40 years old. But a lot of these moves at the trade deadline, they're not for your first, second options, right? The Warriors just did that with Jimmy Butler. Again, kind of a swan song situation. So to make a move as big as the Kings did, and in the midst of a playoff run, this normally doesn't happen because normally it's not, you're not successful in that happening. So they're trying to do something that isn't typically done. And again, success is relative and get into the playoffs. So we'll see what happens there. Kyle, I wanted to get to that clip from DeMar DeRozan. And if anybody thinks, I know I saw in the text line, the conversation of whether or not, and Doug did say, I spoke to the guys. I recently spoke to the guys, or I just spoke to the guys. So he says they always talk after games. We didn't know the extent and the details of it, but he did say, I talked to the guys about blah, blah, blah. So he did say that he spoke to the team after. It's just he always speaks to the team after games, you would assume. But DeMar DeRozan in practice on Saturday was asked about what was talked about. This is what he had to say.
I mean, it was just amongst us, for us, some for us. Talk to amongst one another, clean this thing up. It was private for a reason.
Yeah, I don't think that was supposed to get out.
No. I also don't think DeMar DeRozan was the one who leaked it.
No, I think we can eliminate DeMar DeRozan.
That would be probably my guess. Although, again, we talked about it earlier. I'm not saying that this is how it was, but if he specifically pulled them aside and there were only 6 people in the meeting and Chris Haynes had the extensive details about what was talked about,
right?
There's only but so many people that know those extensive details. But again, he could have just done it in front of everyone, or assistant coaches were there, or whatever else. It didn't have to be that deep, but I guess they just didn't want to have to answer questions about it, which I think is the bigger thing. But Doug, even in his post-game presser, was like, in the Christie's cuts, I pulled the guys aside and talked about X, Y, and Z, which wasn't exactly saying the same thing as Chris Haynes, but it wasn't this scandalous team meeting thing.
Yes, yeah. And in my mind, just the way Chris Haynes, now we'll never know. And does it ultimately matter? Just beat Charlotte tonight and we can move on. But in my mind, it feels like it wasn't everyone, but you're right. It is possible that it was more of a guys, specifically to the starters. But it sounds like to me that it was separate from the 408. This says, and Brendan Nunez joined us in the 10 o'clock hour, and he was talking about how happy or unhappy DeMar DeRozan may be. The 408 says, based on Brendan's call, I know no one truly knows except DeMar, but he can't be that in all caps, that unhappy here, right? I mean, Chicago wasn't too great either, or a better position the last couple seasons. He has his brother, I think they're talking about Zach, playing with him again and closer to home. Yeah, I don't think this is what he signed up for, 408. I mean, look, just because is it a better situation than Chicago? Is it really? I mean,
yes, it might. Well, we'll get to the rankings later. It might be the only situation better than Chicago, but it is better than Chicago.
I mean, but again, it's better than Chicago and Charlotte. Well, that's not what he signed up for, right? So again, it's your expectations. So things may have been worse in Chicago, but he didn't have the same expectations in Chicago. He had big expectations. What did he say? Western Conference Finals on one of the podcasts he was on. So I don't know. Look, again, DeMar DeRozan can want out, but the word on the street was as much as he wanted to, quote unquote, come home. And we've used that loosely the whole time. The Kings paid DeMar more than really what a lot of teams are willing to pay him. So with that being said, and I know he's having a hell of a season, with that being said, I'm not really sure how that's going to work. You need to find a suitor for DeMar, and hopefully you do. And maybe that suitor at this point, maybe it's still an LA team. I don't know. Maybe someone in LA does finally figure it out, and he is the missing piece in LA or something like that, or the Clippers or the Lakers. I don't know their money situations, but he can want out if he wants. He can be unhappy, but he took that money, and we'd all take the money, but I don't know how easy it will be to move him.
Well, and remember, we can talk about what situation he signed up for and whatever, but when the Fox leak came out, remember, he said specifically what you're saying on whatever that FanDuel show was, and I've got the clip here that we pulled from back then.
Yeah, it's tough because, looking at the landscape before I came here, the guys I talked to was Fox, Domas, and Malik. Those are the core guys that, made it easy for me to make my decision to play here, and a key player, juggernaut in Fox, not knowing the future of that, it does make it tougher. I don't have much time left. I'm not trying to play another 5 years, try to maximize the opportunity we have now to play with a great team. You never know when dominoes fall the wrong way. When it comes to organization, it makes it tough, so it's something that, we just got to weigh out and see.
Yeah, so he said basically exactly what we're talking about. I came here because of De'Aaron Fox and Domas and Malik and that core, and we wanted to win together, and this is a different team than what he signed up for. Now, obviously, that was before the trade, and I think bringing in his buddy Zach LaVine certainly makes things nicer, but he said exactly what he was feeling.
Yeah, and, a couple people on the Sac chat are, look, man, yes, I was having a little bit of fun. Obviously, Sacramento is in a better situation than Chicago, but you do realize you are having to argue that or feeling like you have to argue that is not good, right? We shouldn't even be having this conversation. So that's part of the problem. And now you have a DeMar. And look, we'll see how we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit, and we'll see how this whole thing ends with DeMar DeRozan. Like I said, it takes two to tango. But, they need to figure things out, and they need to figure things out quickly. And a lot of people have been, and look, he hears it. DeMar DeRozan, he replied to one of my tweets before. So a lot of people are, saying he need to come off the bench, right? It reminds me of Carmelo Anthony, AP. They saying I need to come off the bench. So you're trying to tell me DeMar DeRozan is going to come from the Chicago Bulls to the Kings, where he saved the Kings' butts on multiple occasions, and his gift and his prize for doing all that is to come off the bench to a team in the 10 seed? Come on. And I'm not saying basketball-wise it doesn't make sense. I'm just saying it's a little ridiculous.
Well, this was Jimmy Butler's entire thought process as it was reported by, I can't remember if it was Ramona Shelburne or Shams, but someone for ESPN was reporting Jimmy Butler is basically like, okay, you're going to make me the third option here with Zach LaVine and with Tyler Hero and with Bam Adebayo. I'm just going to go be the third option with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker.
Exactly.
It's DeMar DeRozan's idea. Well, if I'm going to come off the bench, or even Zach LaVine, if I'm going to come off the bench, why don't I just go do that with Denver? Exactly. Why don't I go do that with Boston, or a team that's ready-made to win a championship right now?
So that's where this whole thing is with DeMar DeRozan, and, not to lose the plot. We got a game tonight, and if the Kings win, somebody said, look, the Kings can win a couple games, beat the Hornets and the Jazz, be a couple games over 500. And you know what? Yeah, that's right. And we can, react to that. I just know that March stretch is coming. But, yeah, we can enjoy that for the time being. Maybe they can get hot. Maybe they found some things. This game is going to be really confusing, because if they take care of business and just beat the dog poop out of the Hornets, it's going to be hard to come on the show tomorrow and say everything is fixed, because the Hornets are terrible and they're really depleted. But I'd rather have that conversation than a battle with the Charlotte Hornets. Come on now. All right, on the other side, what happened on Saturday? Who was wearing what jersey? And is Keon Ellis starting tonight? Someone took a picture of Keon in a black jersey, which normally denotes a starter, and they ran with it. And a lot of people are starting the rumor mill that Keon might be starting tonight. I got some information on it, and I have some information on some of the lineups that might make sense. And I'll tell you what, It's not the one with LaRavia, Trey Lyles, Ellis, Zach LaVine, and Jonas Valanciunas. Allen Stiles, Sacktown Sports.
All guests and callers join us from the Folsom Lake Honda hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop.
Hey, it's Carmichael Dave coming to you from my good friends at American Energy. Look, it's already cold outside. It's only going to get colder. American Energy wants to help you stay warm and make sure your system is operating safely. So right now is the time to take advantage of the $49 tune-up inspection. Normally $119, $49 right now, and that includes a full safety and duct inspection. And check it out. If your system's over 10 years old, and I'll bet it is, the tune-up, yeah, it's free. It's free from a company that's been in business since 1981, serving the greater Sacramento area. A+ Better Business Bureau. Check their Yelp, check their Google reviews. Don't take my word for it. Give them a call right now. $50 off your first recommended repair. If you need a new furnace, half off the price of a new unit. Check them out at theaeway.com and tell them Carmichael Dave sent you.
Call 916-520-9990 now.
Allen Stiles. Watch the show on youtube.com/Sacktown Sports 1140.
Or listen on the Sacktown Sports app.
Keon Ellis. Could he be starting tonight? Well, a picture was going around from after practice on Saturday where Keon was seen wearing a black jersey, which historically means that you are on the starting unit, and fans went wild. And you know what? I don't blame you. Everybody needs something right now for the Sacramento Kings, something to believe in. And I reached out to Sean Cunningham, who was in the building, and we spoke, and it basically is not much ado about nothing. We just don't know. It doesn't mean anything because based on the timing of when media got into the practice. So essentially, once you're with the starting unit and there's scrimmages and they're running drills and things like that, subs can come in. So this isn't the first time Keon's ever worn it and doesn't mean that he's starting. Sean also said that sometimes you'll walk in and see Trey Lyles with it. And Trey Lyles, a lot of people wouldn't pay attention to that because, Trey Lyles isn't starting. But with Keon, some people are trying to push the narrative that Keon may be starting tonight. And like I said, Sean Cunningham, who was in the building, essentially says, look, anything can happen, but based on when we get into the practice or at the end of the practice, we don't know what has happened. We don't get to see them scrimmage because my initial question was, hey, you were in there. Do you know who wasn't wearing a black jersey? And he said it's not really that simple because anybody could have been not wearing a jersey at that time and doesn't mean that they were or weren't in the starting lineup. Based on what Chris Haynes said, Doug Christie talked to the starters after the game, so in depth. So to me, it would be a bit surprising if the Kings made that move right after that conversation. But anything is possible. I'll tell you what: you lose to this Hornets team, and anything, and I mean anything, is possible. Here's some numbers from the 3 guard lineup situations. Okay. So right now, here's the biggest issue. The issue isn't even really Malik Monk, LaVine, or DeRozan. The issue is all 3 of them together. And this is from Ben Ossack1 on Twitter. And he got these stats from pbpstats.com. And here's the issue. Okay. So Monk, LaVine, and DeRozan, their net rating is a -4.4. All right. In 141 minutes. Here are the other combinations. Monk, Ellis, and DeRozan are +14.4 in 372 minutes. Monk, Ellis, and LaVine are a +15 in 27 minutes, a little bit less. Ellis, LaVine, and DeRozan are a +9.92. So really, it's not necessarily Malik. It's less about Malik or LaVine or DeRozan and more about Keon Ellis. So you look around if you're Coach Doug Christie and you think, all right, let's go through the list of who we could bring off the bench and how we would go about this. Let's start with Malik Monk. Malik Monk is probably the easiest conversation. Malik has done it before. We go from moving his one of his best buds and essentially Malik thinking and having, look, let's not forget his quotes about, getting the keys and getting this opportunity, and actually Malik are going to come off the bench. So there's that conversation. There's the DeMar DeRozan conversation. Future Hall of Famer, has saved our butts time and time again, but, not the best on defense. He came all the way out here from Chicago, and we're a 10 seed, and he came to play high-level basketball, and Zach LaVine and De'Aaron Fox is gone, and Mike Brown is gone, and now you got to come off the bench for a 10 seed. So there's that conversation. And you're also paying all these guys a pretty penny. But the prettiest penny goes to Zach LaVine. You traded for Zach LaVine. The optics of the trade, you're trying to make it look like you won the trade. You're paying this man. He makes the most money on the team, and it's only going to go up, okay, nearly $50 million, okay? So out of those three, I think the easiest to me, honestly, it would look probably the worst, but the easiest to me is LaVine, and I'll tell you why. Malik Monk, I know he is really grateful for his opportunity out here, but if Malik Monk has to come off the bench again, De'Aaron Fox is no longer here, Mike Brown is no longer here. I'll never forget, I was listening to Henry Turner High Flyer, and he said, one of the reasons, this is before Malik signed, and he said, one of the reasons I think Malik will be able to, will stay in Sacramento is because, I really think he likes his relationship with Mike Brown, and Mike Brown allows him to be him. Now, Malik really wanted to start, don't get me wrong, but but he did under Mike Brown. Mike Brown is now gone, so those two dudes are gone, and now Malik has moved back to the bench. All right? So Malik Monk, who's to say he could, hey, I'm kind of over this yo-yo situation. If this thing doesn't work, can you guys just move me? Okay, there's that. DeMar DeRozan, I guess you can make that argument the same way, but DeMar DeRozan, Hall of Famer to me, look, optics-wise, you just don't do it. Zach LaVine, it might make you feel bad because he's getting paid 40 whatever million. The Suns did it. It hasn't really worked out for them, but they stink. Not to say the Kings don't, but the Suns are a complete mess. You do it with Zach LaVine because you're stuck with Zach LaVine either way.
Yeah.
He can't ask out, right? Or he could, but nobody is going to trade for that contract. I know that. He knows that. The Kings know it. So you can bring Zach LaVine off the bench, and there's really no repercussion because look, man, you're getting paid 40 whatever million. We can do whatever we want, and you should be good with it. Where I think the Kings messed up is after the Kings beat the Timberwolves. Okay, easier said than done. But after the Kings beat the Timberwolves, before Zach, now again, in that situation, it was, we're going to be okay. De'Aaron Fox is gone, but we have another 24-point scorer that we're just going to slide on in there. I think they missed an opportunity to ride. And let's not forget Keegan in that game. Keegan looked damn good in that game. They missed an opportunity to ride that momentum. You had no clue what it was going to look like with Zach LaVine. It would have made you look, it wouldn't have looked great because it's a $40+ million guy coming off your bench. But you could have argued, hey, we actually kind of cook sometimes without De'Aaron. There's no more drama. We just beat the Timberwolves. Let's just ride with this starting lineup. Zach, you're going to come off the bench until we see what this whole thing looks like and gradually work you in the pool. But they didn't want to do that because they had to make it seem like everything is okay. We just got a guy. But I think that's where they messed up. And in closing, and I'll throw it to you, Kyle, before we get to the break, I think that Zach LaVine is actually the easiest because you're stuck with him either way.
So I agree with that point, even despite the fact that looking at the numbers, the best option is Monk, right? If you look at the data that was here, Monk is the best data point option to come off the bench. Also, I think all this is a moot point because if you look at the minutes total played, I don't think those minutes are going to change all that much because you have to have Monk, LaVine, and DeRozan in crunch time. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, what are we doing here? The only counterpoint I would put to that is if Zach LaVine ever comes off the bench for the Sacramento Kings, you should fire Monty McNair that night. That night. If there is ever actually, I'll say this. The second Scott Moak finishes introducing the starting lineup, he goes Malik Monk, Keon Ellis. The second he finishes, you fire Monty McNair. The very second that happens, because you did not have to trade for Zach LaVine. You made the choice. Mm-hmm. And if Zach LaVine is going to be a bench option at any point in the Zach LaVine experiment, that is especially 7 games into the Zach LaVine experiment, that is a colossal failure, because this goes back to what Chris Biederman said. You would have been better off just selling Fox and starting the tear down then, because now you've just set back the organization years. Yeah. Literal years. If Zach LaVine is ever in consideration to come off the bench. The very second Zach LaVine is not coming in the starting lineup, you fire the general manager and the entire front office.
So would you do Malik Monk? Would you bring Malik Monk off the bench?
I would leave the starting lineup as is, but if we are operating in a world where we're making the swap, yes, I'm moving Malik Monk back to the bench.
Good stuff. Let's continue the conversation. Who would you bring off the bench? We have some numbers to support it, but we want to hear from you. 916-339-1140. Let's keep the conversation going. Allen Stiles, Sacktown Sports.
On the move? Got somewhere to be?
Take Sacramento Kings basketball with you. The Sacktown Sports app will let you stay connected to your passion. Never miss a moment of Sacramento Kings basketball with the Sacktown Sports app.
Progressive presents Renter's MVP's Most Valuable Possessions. Today's MVP, Joe Fallon's bedroom mini fridge. Sure, this pint-sized chiller's max capacity is 3 soda cans, but what it lacks in stature, it makes up in cooling strength. Each beverage a perfect 37 degrees every time. And the 2 feet Joe walks to get a drink, priceless. That's why his mini fridge is today's MVP. Keep your most valuable possessions protected by bundling your renters and auto insurance with Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers not available in all states.
Is that a new Samsung Galaxy A15 5G?
Yeah, I got it for free when I joined Cricket Nation.
Sounds pretty great.
At Cricket, anyone can get a new phone when they switch.
Whoa.
With a high-quality camera, meaning more flattering selfies for all. And super fast 5G, so you can post them for all to see. Your friends, your family, your ex. Free phone! Free phone!
Okay, I'll switch.
Welcome to Cricket Nation.
Cricket 5G is not available everywhere. Must bring your number to Cricket on a $60 a month voice plan. First month service charge and tax to its sale. These terms and other restrictions apply. See cricketwireless.com for details.
Are you tired of your tee shots ending up in the adjoining fairway while the rest of your foursome is hitting it down the middle? Well, experts will tell you that being properly fitted for golf clubs will help you strike your drive center cut. The Hagen Oaks Player Performance Studio and its team of trained PGA professionals are ready to help you get rid of your banana balls and duck hooks. Hagen Oaks Indoor-Outdoor Player Performance Studio fittings are available 7 days a week. Make yours today by calling 916-808-2531. That's 808-2531.
At Stockton Honda, we know how to honor a great deal. Like right now, during our President's Day sales event, you can find star-spangled savings on some of our best models. Why not stop in today and see for yourself? Save thousands with low APR financing and great lease rates on over 500 new Hondas at Stockton Honda.
Anytime, anywhere, it's all here. StocktonHonda.com.
Are you tired of your tee shots ending up in the adjoining fairway while the rest of your foursome is hitting it down the middle? Well, experts will tell you that being properly fitted for golf clubs will help you strike your drive center cut. The Hagen Oaks Player Performance Studio and its team of trained PGA professionals are ready to help you get rid of your banana balls and duck hooks. Hagen Oaks Indoor-Outdoor Player Performance Studio fittings are available 7 days a week. Make yours today by calling 916-808-2531. That's 808-2531.
Hey, this is Greg Papa. Are you working through a major insurance claim? SunPoint Public Adjusters can help. SunPoint prepares, presents, and negotiates your claim with the insurance company, working only for you, making sure you get everything you're entitled to, not what just some adjuster working for an insurance company thinks you should get. Call SunPoint today at 888-247-7865 or contact us at sunpoint.us. SunPoint Public Adjusters, the gold standard in public adjusting.
License number 2N14884. Sacramento's premier country music festival, Country in the Park, is coming back May 16th and 17th at Cal Expo with Bailey Zimmerman, Billy Currington, Cole Wetzel, Nate Smith, and and more. You'll enjoy food trucks, rock walls, and a mechanical bull, line dancing, and more. Single-day GA tickets start at $52 at CITPFest.com. Country in the Park, May 16th and 17th with the California Army National Guard. Find out more at CITPFest.com.
Allen Stiles
You can join the show by texting 916-339-1140
on Sacktown Sports.
Numbers are numbers. They're just numbers. As I always say.
What does that mean?
Yeah. Numbers never lie, but they don't tell the whole truth. Monk, Levine, and DeRozan, a minus 4.4 in 141 minutes, their net rating. Monk, Ellis, and DeRozan, a plus 14 in 372 minutes. That's the one for me that's sticking out, Kyle. They played together the longest. Monk, Ellis, and Levine, plus 15.7 in 27 minutes, that one, you know. And then Ellis, Levine, and DeRozan, plus 9.9 in 52 minutes. So that's why, to me, on top of the Levine can't really go anywhere thing, Monk, Ellis, DeRozan being a plus 14.4 in 372 minutes, that's the one for me why I say this season is a mess anyway. Just say, hey, man, because you know, and I mentioned they missed their window to bring Levine off the bench, and you could just use the excuse, hey, we're trying to get going. And then once you start losing games, say, okay, it's time for Levine to start. You could make the argument now, hey, you know what? Literally what we've been saying. Hey, you know what? A lot of times teams don't do as much as we did at the trade deadline. There are a lot of moving parts. We're going to bring Zach off the bench. Obviously, we see Zach starting for us in the future, a great future that he's going to have with us. But right now, we want to go back to the well. We looked at some of the numbers, and, you know, Monk, Ellis, and DeRozan, they just play really well together. You saw it when we made the move off of De'Aaron in that Minnesota Timberwolves game. You saw it in Boston. You saw it against the Warriors. You saw it a little bit during that win streak. So let's just go back to the well and go back to what we know. Zach's going to do a great job for us coming off the bench. That's not even to say that he'll stay off the bench, but we just want to go to the basics a little bit. It's that simple. It's that simple because he cannot go anywhere.
Yeah, but it's kind of like the Bradley Beal thing. You also don't want to lose him either.
Who can? There's no losing. There's no winning. They have to. This thing is not going anywhere.
Well, based on the amount of money he's making, this is you have 2.5 years with him.
But Kyle, I know that. But the goal is to get the most out of. The hope is that, to me, this season is just, if you're really just trying to do whatever you can, there's no rules. Going into next season, bringing Zach LaVine off the bench would be a bad look. I think in this season, with how things have gone, the typical rules that I would adhere to are just out the window. So that's why, in my opinion, it's the safest, it's the worst looking, maybe, between him and it's probably worse than DeRozan.
I would say if you do DeRozan, you can just chalk it up as not going to be on the team after this year. Yeah. But DeRozan's playing better, so obviously it would be harder. But you can just chalk it up with DeRozan like, well, guess he's not going to be on the team.
Yeah, let's get to the phone lines, 916-339-1140. Let's start with TC. What's up, TC? What you got for us?
Allen, what's up, bro?
How you doing, man? How you doing?
All right, man. Kind of a little frustrated. Big on fan, bro. But 70% talking about rebuild, bro. That's insane, bro. That's stupid, bro. We got a core going on moving forward. We got Malik, we got Domas, bro. We got Keegan. If you want to throw Devin in there, like if DeMar don't want to be here, Zach. Like if we got to move somebody for draft picks to get younger and add to what we got going on, it's not like Fox was the only guy we had, bro. Mm-hmm. We're not in a rebuild stage at all. I don't care what nobody's gonna tell me that, bro. Mm-hmm. We're not in a rebuild stage. No matter how you look at it, no matter if you don't agree to the people that keep saying rebuild is the people that really don't agree with the trade.
Right.
In my opinion, but we're not in a rebuild stage, Kings fans. I'm gonna say that right now, bro. Period, point blank. Moving Zach to the bench, that's the move. I'm with you, Allen. Zach Listen, I know it don't look right, but Zach, you got to go to the bench, bro. If that's the move we going to make and Keon is in the start. Simple as that, bro. That's all I got. But as far as the rebuild, bro, that's idiotic, man. That's all I got.
Thanks for the call, TC. Well, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you're not going to rebuild or do anything until the off. Obviously, you can't do anything until the off season. And that's the thing, TC. I think that we can't necessarily have that conversation until we know what happens at the end of this season, right? So with that being said, the issue is tonight you have the Hornets and on Wednesday you have the Jazz. Right now, the Kings have only beat bad teams in this interim beam team. They beat the Mavericks, who aren't terrible, but they beat the Mavericks on a DeMar DeRozan 40 ball, and then they beat the Pelicans twice, and then they lost to the Pelicans, and they lost to the Warriors. Warriors are playing their best ball of the season. So you win these two games, and I'm telling you right now, I do not know how to sit down here tomorrow after a blowout and how excited I should be. I hope that I have that conversation in my head, because the other side of that is even worse. And then on Wednesday, you go to Utah, and that's another game that the Kings need to win. So we like to break these things down into 5-game, or that's what Mike Brown used to do. And now that the Warriors game is done, the new 5-game set, you got the Hornets, the Jazz, the Rockets, the Mavericks, and the Nuggets. I don't believe Anthony Davis won't be back for the Mavericks yet. So that Rockets game, March 1st, all three of those games, right? So what are you going to do? The typical Kings thing. If you go 2-3, I don't feel any better about this team.
Well, yeah. I mean, we talked about you got to be between 12 and 19 to get to the play-ins. They're looking like play-in territory. On Friday, when we were doing our final countdown predictions of the season, I said they're going to be either the 9 or 10. And the reason I didn't specify it is because I know Minnesota's a really good team. Are they a great team? No, but they're a really good team. I suspected the Warriors were going to get better by getting an all-NBA player in exchange for Andrew Wiggins. Regardless of how you think fit works, I think just adding that star player and only giving up Wiggins and Kyle Anderson was going to make the Warriors better. And so I looked at it like maybe the Mavericks are just going to completely fall apart, but I think it's going to be Kings Mavericks in that 9-10 one way or another. And maybe we weren't being pessimistic enough, but the Suns blew it this weekend. They could have gotten within.
Oh my goodness, crazy.
But at the same time, like, yeah, I think we're headed to that 9-10 territory, and it's only 2 games. So like, if you go 2-0, you get a 7-game series, which I know people don't want to hear that, but like these next 25 games are all probably building up to 2 games in the play-in, and those 2 games are going to ultimately be what defines whether or not this group gets a rerun next year. And that goes all the way up to Monty McNair, Doug Christie, and the players on the team. It's going to kind of come down to 2 games.
You could fast forward into March and be happy. There might come to a point where we're happy to be 9-10. I'm serious, because every game, I know the Suns stink, but there's still opportunity. If the Kings have to win these games to keep that pace, just in case the Suns decide to figure it out. Lawrence Dubois on the Sack Chat says, Kings need to blow out the Hornets and then the Jazz, then we will talk playoffs. Until then, not so much. I don't know if I'm talking playoffs after it, Lawrence. I really don't. And I don't think they're going to blow out both teams. I think they'll win both games. I don't think they'll blow out both teams. I hope they do, but I don't think they will. I just don't think so. 916-339-1140. Let's go to Mitch, who wants to be part of the conversation. What's up, Mitch? What you got for us?
What's popping, Alan?
Hey.
What's the purpose of having McDermott and Crowder? Picked up Crowder. I agree with you. Best player available, especially when you're drafting. But I think we blew with the trade and our off-season free agent acquisition. It doesn't really mesh. So I'm hoping, besides the front office getting fired, that we get in the lottery, and hopefully they don't find faults with Flagg or the 2 guys from Rutgers.
Bailey,
Harper. Ellie, I know they're above 6'2", so that might cause some issues, but I like that one of those 3.
Thanks for the call, Mitch. Yeah, the Jay Crowder, I mean, McDermott is done because of LaRavia, right? And he wasn't playing much before that. And Jay Crowder, I think he's just there in case they scrap, right? They get into a scrap and you need something.
The Udonis Haslam contract.
Exactly. Let's get to Javi. Wants to be a part of the conversation. What's up, Javi? What you got for us?
How you doing today, Mr. Styles and Cop?
Hey, how you doing?
All right. So I've been trying to call last week or so, but I know it's been busy with everything going on. So I think it's a real simple fix. You look at statistically, small sample size, but this new roster's been a small sample size. But the best plus minus within reason with the starting unit or the top 7 players in rotation, the Kings are +9 when you have Monk, Ellis, Levine, Murray, and Sabonis. And it's not about wanting to bench DeRozan. It's the Kings have had an efficient lead in what they do when the bench unit comes in compared to the starting 5, and that's bench productivity in scoring points consistently. Who's their best scorer, isolation scorer, or scorer period outside of Sabonis? It's DeRozan, and it's not even a question. You think of, well, DeRozan's going to want to go. I think DeRozan might want to go. I think DeRozan's going to want to go either way. So you're going to tell him, hey, man, you'll be the best 6 man we can have. You're going to pair with Fultz, yourself, LaRavia, along with Lyles and Valanciunas, and you're going to be the best 6 man in the NBA for the next 25 games, and you're going to help us get in the top 8.
That's a good call, Javi. It's a good call. I'm still trying to figure out. I understand because that's similar to what Kyle is saying, as far as if he's gone anyway. But just from what you've watched, Javi, not the numbers, but just from what you've watched, you would rather bring DeMar DeRozan off the bench than Zach LaVine. Because what I'm struggling with is that DeMar, we know that this works, right? I don't know what works with Zach. My issue is Zach LaVine and Malik Monk, to be honest with you. That's my issue.
Yeah, and their point is well taken, but the point that's prevalent is that because we know DeRozan get buckets in the second unit, and that will fill the void without a shot of a doubt, a guarantee. We don't know. I'm not saying LaVine come off the bench wouldn't or wouldn't fix things, but what's more certain, DeRozan getting them buckets or LaVine off the bench getting the buckets? And most importantly, which is McNair's, this is all McNair's feet. You're stuck with LaVine and not stuck with Sabonis. But that pairing, like, you got to see if it's going to work for the next season or so.
Yeah.
The livelihood of the organization going forward. But this is for Monty McNair's job because, his chair is real, real hot right now. He needs to say, hey, I know you want to do what's best for the team, Christie. And not saying that DeRozan and LaVine are equal because they're not, but they're real similar. DeRozan obviously has the edge, but we got to see if the starting unit with Ellis and LaVine with Monk and Sabonis will work, obviously with Murray. But why the DeRozan thing is so prevalent, whether he's going to go or not and be the best 6 man to help us get into the top 8 is if and when rather we get rid of him so we can be under luxury tax. I'm telling everybody right now, mark this day, which is the 24th of February, 2025. We might have found a gem, Markelle Fultz, and or for sure Fultz and LaRavia. Not saying he's like the all-NBA player we're going to get free agency. So I want to re-sign both those guys to the TP and the mid-level exception. If we don't have DeRozan on the roster, we can do that. But if he's on the roster after the season, we're not re-signing either of those 2 players.
Thanks for the call, Javi. Great stuff. You and Kyle are trying to convince me, and you both have some good points. If it's cooked with DeRozan, my whole thing is this. There was the what was it? The whispers that Mike Brown wanted to bring DeRozan off the bench, and I don't know that there was a confirmation that whether DeMar DeRozan was against it or not against it. De'Aaron Fox kind of spoke to it, but there wasn't a lot of information there. Yeah, if he's gone, he's gone. I guess you just have to worry about how he would react to it, but he's a professional. I do think is there a mar on your name where it's you come off the bench? Because maybe DeMar doesn't want to come off the bench until he goes to that team, like you said, Kyle, but maybe he doesn't have a choice. All right, we're way over time. Got to pay some bills. And on the other side, let's do some pocket watching and see if we can get back to the top end of the play-in. Allen Stiles, Sacktown Sports.
Tonight, Kings and Hornets. King Night with Scott Marsh and the high flyer Henry Turner starts at 5:30. Tip-off at 7.
The Kings play here on Sacktown Sports.
Sacktown Sports, 1140.
With the cooler seasons upon us, Advanced Infusion Center remains focused on your health and comfort. Whether you're dealing with a chronic illness or in need of IV therapy, we provide tailored treatments to meet your unique needs. Our caring team is here to make sure your experience is safe, comfortable, and stress-free. With convenient locations in Sacramento and Yuba and flexible scheduling, you can easily access the care you deserve. Explore Advanced Infusion Therapy today. Visit advancedinfusion.com for compassionate care right where you need it. Power Business Technology is proud to be a 100% independent, locally owned and managed Toshiba copier dealer. Local ownership cuts out the red tape, allowing ourselves to never be too busy to personally answer the call when our clients need us. Recognized for excellence in service execution, training, and customer service, we're proud to be named a Toshiba ProMasters Elite Dealer since 2021. Contact us today for all your business printing needs at 844-POWER-BZ. That's 844-769-3729 or visit us at powercopiers.com.
Hi, I'm Justin Gingery. One of the most common questions I receive is what makes us different from other law firms. At Gingery Hammer and Associates, we handle your case from beginning to end. Whether your case reaches a settlement, whether we need to file suit, or even take it all the way to trial, we will be with you along the entire way. And because we are committed to you and your case, we are as invested as you are in making sure you get the outcome you deserve. If you have an injury, just call Gingery.
The huge President's Day sale is on at Maida Chevy, Sacramento's Silverado headquarters.
Save $10,250 off MSRP after rebates on new half-ton Silverado LT. After rebates with over 50 in stock.
And Maida Chevy has one of the largest selections in the Sacramento area.
$10,250 off new 2025 Silverado at Maida Chevy. Now that's big, huge. See them all at MaidaChevy.com. Together, let's drive.
I'm George Washington, and I approved this message. Not available with special financing, leasing, some other offers. 5 to the South, Mustang 2011 or newer Chevrolet.
You're home for Kings Talk and so much more.
Live and local.
Allen Stiles on Sacktown Sports.
Got to get to some of the texts. They've been on fire, but so many calls, so much to talk about. Haven't got to them yet. 408 says, shout out TC, real Kings fan right there. I'm with him on that. TC, at the top of my head, TC was saying that a rebuild is ridiculous. Well, it's ridiculous now for sure, right in this moment right now. But you don't make the playoffs, and I don't know how ridiculous it is. I know, obviously, still getting acclimated with everything Sacramento Kings and the history of the Kings, but I know that there's a big conversation about the Kings as far as whether or not they've ever actually tanked and tried the rebuild. It's always been this, or either aimlessly moving through life or we're retooling, right? They've been retooling for two decades now. So do you take that chance? And you can't really take that chance now because of the situation with the Hawks. So the tanking, it's not even a, could be 3 years, could be 5 years, could be longer than that. So, there's a lot of conversations to be had. And at least, like I said, it's just tough this season because it's so wide open this season.
When you say the situation with the Hawks, are you talking about their first round pick this year?
Yes. The fact that you're probably not going to get that pick. So
1.8% chance in the lottery.
That's right.
If they end up as the 10 seed, 2.6% chance in the lottery.
That's right. So you're telling me there's a chance. As we continue through some of these texts, 916 says, can we just take a few steps back and realize how absolutely ridiculous it is that we have to squint hard to even remotely see a point guard on this roster? In Monk, I mean, guys, this is a comically bad team. If it wasn't our team, it would actually be hilarious. Yeah, like I said, I'm a Monk apologist. I think that he can be a point guard. I'll continue to say it. Was I a natural born center fielder? No, but I could play center field if need be. I had my moments, right? And Aaron Judge, to me, not a naturally born. Now he missed that ball in the World Series, but that's not because he was in center. He missed the ball.
He just choked.
Right. And
he hit 180 in the World Series and dropped a pop-up.
And funny enough, I guess I'm kind of I guess I'm kind of contradicting myself because funny enough, I mean, you're in center, you get majority of the balls. So maybe he shouldn't have been in center during the World Series. And I've always thought that. So it always burns you in the worst moment. So going back to Malik Monk and everything that he's done as a point guard. Earlier, I saw somebody on the Sack Chat say, we haven't seen the two-man game with Domantas Sabonis as much. And I thought that was interesting. And my thought process on it is this goes back to Malik either coming off the bench or in a secondary role when he could just focus on, hey, Malik. And this, again, is part of the growing pains of Malik becoming that primary ball handler. He has a lot of other stuff on his plate now, right? He's got to worry about getting Zach LaVine in the mix, getting Domantas Sabonis in the mix, getting DeMar DeRozan his touches, getting going himself. When Malik Monk was coming off the bench, it was go in, run two-man game with Domas, shoot the basketball, pass the basketball, you're good. When he was the secondary option, when De'Aaron's not feeling it or whatever it is, go to two-man, cook yourself, get Domantas Sabonis going, and go from there. If you look at, when we do prop talk, a lot of times, if I'm thinking about the Malik Monk prop, most of the time with assists, I'm thinking about what does Domantas Sabonis look like that night? Does it look like both of them will be cooking together? Because outside of those pick and rolls that they run, that two-man game, yeah, Malik Monk as a passer isn't bad, but you expose him outside of the spurts that we normally saw him. Very similar, I promise. Look, it's baseball season, so I'm not going to apologize. Very similar. Who is it? Jordan Hicks on the Giants, a reliever closer type deal. Last season, they bring him in. They try to make him a starter, and it's different because as a closer, as a reliever, you can put your cojones on the floor and say for 3 outs, I can just go all gas, no brakes. I can empty the tank. Malik, now, when you're a starter, and I've used this before, I'm going just from sport to sport, LeBron James. And a lot of times you see these guys, they look like boxers, if you will. In the first quarter, you might be thinking, what is going on with LeBron? Right? He's just kind of surveying and watching how everything goes and doing this, doing that. A lot of these guys, Trae Young, Steph Curry, now these are elite point guards, point forwards, whatever you want to call it. Malik Monk has to learn how to do that. But right now, going back to Zach LaVine, while Malik is trying to do that, Zach LaVine's sitting in the corner. So nothing is helping anything right now.
Yeah, and I guess where my frustration comes in is like I said earlier, you have 4 shooting guards on the roster, basically. I know DeMar DeRozan plays small forward, but you basically have 4 shooting guards on the roster. I appreciate the caller who said Markelle Fultz is an option.
Yeah.
But I think that's just something you should have addressed before the deadline, and they didn't. So now it's something they'll address in the offseason, and the only way to really address that in the offseason is to make a major roster change, whether that's DeRozan, whether that's Monk, whatever they decide to do, you got to make some sort of choice over the offseason, which will happen if they don't make the playoffs. It's just, this is, I guess, where you thought maybe you would get some production from Devin Carter, or maybe you thought you would get production out of Keon Ellis at the point guard position instead of the 2 guard.
Keon, and like I said, everybody was due, but Keon did not play. I mean, the Warriors were due. Keon, that was not a great game. And then nobody played well, don't get me wrong, but that was a game where, like I said, enjoy it when you can enjoy it, because you never know when it's going to end, because Keon Ellis and Steph didn't go crazy, mostly because he didn't really have to. But Keon, I don't know if he had any point. I don't know if he scored a point against the Warriors. If he did, he didn't get past 2. I'm pulling up the box score right now. Keon Ellis had 2 points.
2 points.
He was Keon Ellis was a minus 18 in 24 minutes. Zach LaVine was a minus 24. Jake LaRavia, my guy, brother, please get your shot back, was a minus 18 in 16 minutes. He was 0 of 5 from the field. Jonas Valanciunas, a minus 12. And by the way, Keegan Murray, real quick. Keegan Murray on Steph Curry.
Sacramento.
Keegan Murray on Steph Curry. I get it. He didn't do a bad job. But the other thing is, you're so busy. You just completely eliminate him offensively, which they've kind of done anyway. But Keegan Murray, he posted up Steph or tried to post up, I think, once or twice. One of those was one of the worst shots I've seen in a long time. He just hit the backboard. He hit nothing else. And it was just such a complete, that's why I haven't even talked about it that much. It was just such a complete mess, that game. And nobody could figure anything out. I'm looking here at the box score now. Domas with a, double-double, but a bit of a quiet game. And that, you know what? And that's why the whole double-double, triple-double thing is so tough. I don't know if you watched Lakers and Nuggets, Kyle, but you had Jokic with a triple-double. It was the most useless triple-double I had ever seen.
Yeah.
Ever seen.
I don't know. Some of those Westbrook ones were pretty.
Oh, no. It reminded me of a Westbrook triple-double where it didn't help anyone. It didn't help the team at all.
Merchant on the rebounds, Merchant
yes.
on the
and then had
assist.
about, I think, 10 points, something like that, mostly from the free throw line. So I saw that game, and this is a mess. 13 points from Keegan Murray, 13 points from Zach LaVine, 13 points from Malik Monk. Malik Monk, 1 of 7 from 3. Zach LaVine, 2 of 7. They shoot. I don't know how they even got to 34%. It's because of DeMar DeRozan and Keegan Murray saved them from the 3-point line.
Yeah,
so
DeMar
at least,
DeRozan hit like 3 right out the gate.
That's right. At least Keegan kind of figured it out from 3-point land. But if you're going to guard Steph, and I know Steph is a better defender than people give him credit for, but I don't know if that's on Doug. Like I said, they tried. I don't know if that's on Doug Christie or whoever it is. But Keegan is 6'9". 6'9", and Steph was guarding him, and I was sitting next to, I believe it was Brendan or Frankie, and they said, you know how many times that the other team will actually hide their worst defender on Keegan Murray. And as we had a conversation about X factors during the show on Friday, I'm thinking, if Keegan Murray is one of your guys, that's the one that is supposed to burn people the same way the Warriors were doing it when it's Brandon Podziemski, or last game it was Guy Santos, and that's how we should have known. I always knew the Warriors were going to win, but that's how we should have known, because when it was Steph and a bunch of plumbers, they almost lost that game. They knew the game plan, and they actually had NBA players on the floor. So it was already cooked. This whole thing was cooked.
So I guess to put a bow on this conversation, because I think we've squeezed every possible.
I'm still squeezing.
Every lineup combination.
Yeah.
We've gone to DeRozan off the bench, to LaVine off the bench, to Monk off the bench, to keeping Keon on the bench, to starting Markelle Fultz.
Some people want Murray off the bench. I think that would be atrocious defensively.
Yes, you cannot play DeMar DeRozan at the 4.
Yeah.
So it doesn't solve anyone's problem, because Keon's still coming off the bench in that scenario. Just to put a bow on it, all of these problems are greater roster construction issues. What I think is getting everyone so frustrated is that they are trying to find a short-term solution to save the season, when the reality is this is a roster construction problem, and none of these short-term fixes, like a lineup change, are going to save it from the fact that this team has 4 shooting guards in their core 6 and don't know how best to utilize them on the floor together. So that's a bigger roster construction issue. And to the point of the texter earlier, I agree. If this weren't our team, we'd be making a lot more jokes about this. And honestly, I don't think we've made enough jokes about the Sacramento Bulls. The fact that they are literally recreating the Bulls, I don't think we made enough jokes about how funny that actually is.
12 o'clock hour is coming up, and I was just sitting on my couch, and I thought, you know what? There is a world without Doug Christie. I don't know if it would be fair or not, but I do see it. We'll tell you how it happens, and hopefully it doesn't happen, but we'll tell you how it happens and whether you would agree or not on the other side. Allen Stiles, Sacktown Sports.
Tonight, Kings and Hornets. King night with Scott Marsh and the high flyer Henry Turner starts at 5:30. Tip-off at 7.
The Kings play here on Sacktown Sports.
Sacktown Sports, 1140.
Online, easy way to get life insurance in 10 minutes. Ethos has rates that you can afford, like a $500,000 policy for a 40-year-old male starting at $1 a day or $30 a month with a few health questions and no medical exam. Get your free quote right now at checkethos.com. That's checkethos.com. Not available in all states. Rates do vary.
Hey, it's Carmichael Dave for American Energy Heating and Air with a question. Have you recently had a technician diagnose your HVAC system? You were a bit surprised at how much it cost, or did something seem off about their quote? Because at American Energy, they take pride in giving you honest, straightforward solutions to get that system up and running. Have their qualified technicians come out and give you a free second opinion. It's free. You got nothing to lose but some dollars off of that original quote. They're making the uncomfortable comfortable. They've been doing it since 1981, serving the greater Sacramento area. A+ with the Better Business Bureau. That's why they keep having customers coming back for more and more and more. You can call them and set that appointment at 916-520-9990. That's 916-520-9990 or AmericanEnergyAir.com.
Call 916-520-9990 now.
Patrick was way behind on his IRS taxes.
I was in way over my head, and the total amount ended up being somewhere just over $30,000. $30,000.
Then the IRS came to collect.
Started getting letter after letter. A lien had been filed against me. They were going to basically hang me completely out to dry.
He had to do something.
That's when I reached out to Optima Tax Relief.
Patrick's life quickly got a lot easier.
It was very easy, pretty much hands off. They picked up the ball and ran with it.
And how'd it go?
I couldn't believe it. I had to ask 2 or 3 times. I saved an incredible amount of money.
How does Patrick feel about Optima?
Couldn't be happier. They definitely helped me. Optima Tax Relief, the best place to call. They're the best in the business.
Do what Patrick did and call Optima Tax Relief for a free consultation. Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Lowe's knows that your business is built on speed and trust. That's why the Lowe's Pro Desk is here to get you what you need the moment you need it. We'll help you plan your project, calculate your materials, and pivot when your job takes an unexpected turn. And with our pro-only checkout and dedicated pro parking, you have what you need to tackle your job and be back on the job in no time. Just visit us at the Pro Desk. Lowe's knows pros. We help. You save.
T-Mobile 5G home internet keeps getting better. Get our fastest connection loaded with benefits. Get T-Mobile's best home internet starting at $55 a month with auto pay and any voice line. Plus, Price Lock. We won't raise your rate on internet. Check availability at T-Mobile.com/home internet.
Exclusions like taxes and fees apply. Guarantees regular monthly rate plan price of fixed wireless 5G internet data with qualifying service. After $15 bill credit with postpaid voice line plus $5 a month without auto pay with debit or bank account. Regulatory fees included for qualifying accounts. $35 connection charge applies. Speeds vary due to factors affecting cellular networks.
Coach Doug Christie here for your truck headquarters, reminding you that every deal at Folsom Lake Ford is a slam dunk. Shop all your favorite models on sale now, including America's best-selling truck for over 47 years, Ford F-Series, plus a huge selection of Broncos, Bronco Sports, and all of Ford's award-winning SUVs at FolsomLakeFord.com. Listen, I know a great play when I see one, and if you want to save on a new Ford, you gotta drive the lane straight to Folsom Lake Ford in the Folsom Auto Mall. Right now, buy any new Ford with 0 down on approval of credit. Save big with low interest financing, and Folsom Lake Ford always pays top dollar for your trade. So hurry to Folsom Lake Ford, a 6-time Triple Crown winner for sales and service excellence. That's why they're my trusted dealer, and they should be yours too. Tell them Coach Doug Christie sent you, or shop them online at FolsomLakeFord.com.
Your local sports leader in the 916.
KHTK HD1 Sacramento. KYMX HD3 Sacramento.
From the Power Business Technology Toshiba Studios. Sacktown Sports 1140. Allen Stiles.
You can join the show by texting 916-339-1140.
On Sacktown Sports.
Going back and forth, having some fun with a texter as we approach we're here, 12 o'clock hour. Hey, Stiles, I know you're not a Jimmy Butler guy. Warriors are 5-1 with him now. Just keeping score, my friend. Sorry. Yes, we are going to get into that. The 12 o'clock hour, towards the end of the 12 o'clock hour. But trust me, to that point, 916, I already had it on our schedule because you know me, I'm aware it. Now, look, these sample sizes, let's be clear. I know some things happen, but the Kings did go 7-0, and we were thinking everything was fixed. Now, different because one team has Steph Curry and one team doesn't. But yes, we will have the Jimmy Butler conversation because maybe I was wrong.
Ha! What idiot didn't want Jimmy Butler on his team, period? Remember that?
Maybe I was wrong. Speaking of being wrong, we're about to get into this Doug Christie conversation, but I just saw this, and this is for, we haven't talked NFL in a very long time. This is for the Niner fans out there. And, I just feel bad. I know he signed for a bunch of money and nobody should feel bad, but I just think it was a bad situation, very similar to what we talk about the Kings and putting guys into situations that make the most sense. This is coming from Nick Shook from NFL.com. Cowboys expect Trey Lance to leave in free agency and intend to draft a QB in April. He writes, when the Trey Lance experiment failed in San Francisco, Dallas jumped at the opportunity to add the former third overall pick in the 2021 draft. 18 months later, it appears the Cowboys, only 18 months? 18 months later, it appears the Cowboys are also ready to move on from Lance. Cowboys CEO and co-owner Nepo baby Stephen Jones said Monday that they anticipate Lance will seek employment elsewhere in March, and Dallas will likely look at drafting a new developmental quarterback in April. Here's the quote. We took a shot at Trey and wanted to do that, Jones told the Dallas Morning News. We think the world of Trey, but us having Dak Prescott sign up for the long term, I think he's probably going to be looking for something different. Nick goes on to write, it's convenient, and he didn't say Nepo baby, that was me. Nick goes on to write, it's convenient to blame an anticipated parting on a lack of opportunity at the top of the depth chart. But as the Cowboys demonstrated in their reliance on Cooper Rush in 2024, Lance was never in contention to take serious reps under center. They waited until week 18 to give him a legitimate chance in a season that was knocked off the rails by Prescott's hamstring injury months earlier. Even in a draft class that isn't loaded at the position, Dallas is choosing to entertain selecting a new prospect over retaining Lance. I think one of our goals is to get a young quarterback in the draft. I don't know where that's going to be. Look, man, I wanted Justin Fields, okay? Covering the Niners, I wanted Justin Fields. So I don't know that I would have been much more right. At least Justin Fields is still taking snaps somewhere. Crazy situation for Trey. That was the whole thing where nobody knew that Jerry was doing this deal. And what was it, a third or fourth rounder? So it was a pretty good pick for Trey. I don't know. Honestly, some people had said they wanted Trey so Trey could tell them about the Niners' plays, which sounded crazy, but I really don't know. I mean, at that time, I guess they didn't know if Dak was going to re-sign or not, if they were going to be able to extend him. So once they extended Dak, there was really no point in keeping Trey around. Just a crazy situation where timelines matter, man, and he needed a longer timeline. Would that have helped? I don't know.
Probably not.
Quarterbacks burn out all the time, and I don't know what happens next for Trey. I know a lot of people were saying go to the CFL or whatever it is. That's just how many stories are there like that when a guy ends up balling? You either kind of got something or you don't. Yeah, and I just don't think Trey has it.
You could be PJ Walker, who had moments, but not like he's ever going to be a starter. My hope, and I put this out into the universe at the end of last year, is hear me out. Trey Lance goes to the Colts. Jameis Winston goes to the Colts. And you create the most chaotic quarterback room in the history of NFL football with Anthony Richardson, Jameis Winston, and Trey Lance.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Trey, he's got good size on him, Ayo. Do you think about maybe tight end? Would you rather flame out as a quarterback? Or it worked out, what's his name? Logan Thomas?
Yeah.
It worked out for him.
Logan Thomas was not the third overall pick in the draft.
Kyle, he has no job.
Yeah.
He has no job.
I'm not a prideful person. My pride would not allow me to go from being the third pick in the NFL draft to being a tight end.
I'd rather that. We'll see what happens with Trey Lance, but just a quick note that I saw. All right, let's have this Doug Christie conversation. I'm sitting on my couch. I'm just thinking. I'm on social media, and I wasn't willing to entertain a world without Doug Christie. And Brendan Nunez, we spoke to him, Sacktown Sports Kings Insider, in the 10 o'clock hour. And Brendan feels as if Doug is pretty solid and in solid standing with the Kings. And why wouldn't he be? They've invested in him. He's been on 2 different coaching staffs, which doesn't typically happen. They essentially added him to Mike Brown's. He was not necessarily chosen by Mike Brown. And then on top of that, they move on from Mike Brown, and Doug leapfrogs the other 2 assistants into a starting role. So clearly they think very highly of Doug, and this has been one of their projects to get Doug ready to take over. So I don't think that they would go in the other direction, but if they don't go in the other direction, that kind of lends itself back to the drama and the just combustion that has happened in this organization. Because let's say they move on from Monty McNair, a lot of times GMs, they want a hand in their coach. So you're going to be the leadership group with the Kings, say, hey, we're moving on from Monty McNair. We're bringing you in, whoever new GM is. We have our coach though. And so you can't pick the coach. We're going to sign the coach. So you're not, even though Monty McNair said he was the one that had the hand in moving on from Mike Brown, but this GM isn't going to pick the coach. He's just going to be the GM, say, hey, work with Doug. And I don't know, would Doug have a conversation in the GM, picking the GM? I don't know. I don't think so. So you have that situation, and again, this is assuming things go south, or you have Doug Christie, you have Monty McNair, who is now gone, and you clean house because things went off the rails. You either were a 10 seed and you got beat down, or you missed it completely. Either way, you didn't make the playoffs, and you move on from Monty McNair, and the GM says, what if it's a highly touted GM? And the GM says, hey, I'll do Sacramento. I think you guys got some pieces, but I want my own head coach. And that aligns with what I'm trying to do to get the most out of this team. And I don't think that Doug aligns with that. And in a lot of situations, the GM gets to work hand in lockstep with the coach. So if you want me, Mr. Vivek, I get to pick who the coach is. And that's it. Right? Could it be that if Doug is still connected to Monty McNair, and throughout these years where Doug has been with different coaching staffs along with Monty McNair, is that investment, is that Monty McNair's investment, or is that Mr. Vivek's investment? Because if it's Monty McNair's investment, then when Monty McNair is gone, the investment doesn't matter anymore. If it's Mr. Vivek's investment, then even though Monty McNair is gone, Vivek says, hey, even though I'm picking you as a GM, you're going to have all the freedom you want besides the head coach. And some GMs might say, look, no disrespect to Doug. I don't have a problem with Doug. I just want to come in with a clean slate, and you guys stink. So I don't really want, to have to work with Doug. Now, there are not a lot of GM roles going around. So maybe I'm underestimating how willing a GM would be to work to whatever the ownership group would want. But I do think there is a level of, hey, man, there's kind of a bad stigma around the Kings right now. And all money ain't good money, and all jobs aren't good jobs. So if I'm a GM, a hot and up-and-coming GM, I might skip on Sacramento because you have Doug who's left over, and Doug on top of that, let's not forget, Doug has to Frankenstein his coaching staff, because the coaching staff that he would have been with, getting all of this experience with, will probably not be his coaching staff next season. So you have some Frankenstein coach with a Frankenstein staff that's just been cobbled together. And now Doug has to learn how to coach with people that he picked, but not that he worked with. Maybe there's somebody left over. Maybe there's not. So you're going to bring the GM in there? Or do you just say, you know what, I really like Doug, but if I'm moving on from this is, obviously if they move on from Monty McNair, you know what, I really like Doug, but I'm moving on from Monty. I just want to give the keys to someone. And if somebody says, I'll say to them, hey, we'd like to keep Doug. And they say, hey, And if your number one prospect, your number one GM prospect doesn't want to keep Doug, I don't think you keep Doug. Let's keep the conversation going. Open up the phone lines, 916-339-1140. Can you see a world without Doug Christie if the Kings don't make the playoffs? Allen Stiles, Sacktown Sports.
Tonight, Kings and Hornets. Game night with Scott Marsh and the high flyer Henry Turner starts at 5:30. Tip-off at 7.
The Kings play here on Sacktown Sports.
Sacktown Sports, 1140.
Hurry in and save big during Honda's President's Day sales event at Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop.
Hurry in and save on our best selection of new Hondas. Each is priced to sell now. Folsom Lake Honda is your one-stop Honda shop for great pricing on a giant selection of new CRVs, HRVs, Civics, and Accords with low finance and lease options. Plus, get an instant cash offer for your trade. Get to Folsom Lake Honda or go to FolsomLakeHonda.com.
Folsom Lake Honda, yeah, your one-stop Honda shop.
Insurance companies perform a very valuable service, but they want to keep their money. Although most cases settle before trial, it is paramount that the insurance companies know that if pressed, your legal team has the experience to take your case all the way. For 25 years, Ashton & Price has earned the reputation that if the insurance company isn't fair, we're ready to force them to be fair. My mom used to warn me, wait till dad gets home. Think of us as dad. The best part, there's no fee until we win.
Remember, for the best advice, don't think twice. Call Ashton.
The Sacktown Sports app.
When it comes to sports, there is an F word out there. And really when it comes to life in general, there is an F word out there that is really tough. And look, I'm a young parent, or I guess, are you a young parent? Are you a young parent if you're young or if your kids are young? I guess if it's you're young, so I don't know how young of a parent I am. My kid is young though, so haven't had to have these conversations.
A middle-aged parent.
There you go. Okay. All right. Let me get to 35 first in March, and then I can be middle-aged.
Unk. Then you're going to be unk.
Then I'm unk. I will no longer be big bro. I will graduate to unk. So that word that's out there, that F word that's out there, is fair. And you have to have conversations with your kids, with your loved ones, with your friends about what's fair in life. A lot of things aren't fair in life. A lot of things aren't fair in sports. You know, I know there's somebody listening right now who has a kid that you know your kid is better than the other kid, but that kid's parent is the coach and your kid should be the starting pitcher and they're not because of the situation. It's not fair. But you can't tell them that. What you tell them is, hey, well, if you were that much better than that kid, they wouldn't have a choice, right? Don't leave it in their hands. Fair. And when it comes to sports, nobody likes that word fair. A lot of things aren't fair. Get into the Bronny conversation. I called Stephen Jones a Nepo baby. There's Bronny. Is Bronny getting drafted where he got drafted fair? I don't know. Probably not. But it happened, and we all survived it. It was tough comparing them to Ken Griffey Jr. and Ken Griffey Sr., but we survived it. So as I have this conversation about Doug Christie, and if this thing goes south, them being tied together, them being Monty McNair and Doug Christie, if Doug Christie were to be that collateral damage, it wouldn't be fair. But that's how it goes sometimes. I have a lot of people chiming in on the Sack Chat. R. Jonesy, flawed roster, hungry fan base, questionable ownership. I got a hard time believing a GM that is worth it is willing to concede something as basic as picking their own head coach just to be there or just to be here in Sacramento. And I think you might be right, R. Jonesy. And I don't know if you still won't want to go in-house, right? I mean, not to get political here, but it was a rough go for Kamala based on how a lot of people felt about Biden. It was going to be a rough go. So in the same way, I don't really know based on how people feel about Monty McNair. If you say we're going to promote Wes Wilcox, how a lot of people would feel about it. You're from the same camp. You were together making the decisions that led to this. Even if Wilcox says, I'm going to do things completely differently, me and Wes aren't the same person, you're still tied to it.
How many organizations actually do that? Like, seriously, I've only can think of like maybe one example of firing the general manager and just promoting the person below them.
They would be the one to do it. I mean, if there is an organization that would do it, it would probably be the Kings.
Maybe, but like, I think so. Like Atlanta did that when they fired Schlenke, the guy who came from the Warriors, and they hired Landry Fields. But Landry Fields came in like a year before. This wasn't like I brought this guy in and we've been together for 5 years. Like this never happens.
So, and the only reason I bring that up is because that would be a way. I think if you did promote Wes and you move on from Monty McNair, I do think that would be a way to hold on to Doug Christie. That's the only reason I'm bringing it up, because they would all be kind of still connected. But assuming that doesn't happen, because like Kyle said, that doesn't typically happen. Now you bring in a brand new GM. And again, this is all assuming if the Kings make the playoffs, Monty McNair is fine. Wes is fine. Doug Christie's fine. If the Kings make the playoffs, we all understand that, one thing they love to do if they make the playoffs, they going to run that thing back. We going to see the same team. So this whole conversation is, I think, a more realistic one. We'll see what happens tonight and against the Jazz if they don't make the playoffs and they move on from Monty McNair, which I'm just assuming that's a possibility, right? That new GM, I don't think a GM would deal with everything there is to deal with in Sacramento, and they don't get to choose their head coach. So to me, Doug being gone is pretty darn realistic based on collateral damage.
I think there's a lot of these conversations, which is would you restructure a front office? What do you do with Keegan Murray's contract? What do you do with DeMar DeRozan? I think there's going to be a lot of these contracts that as March or a lot of these conversations that as March goes along, we're going to be fighting for our lives to be like, keep talking about the team, keep talking about the team, keep talking about the team. These are off-season conversations. But if this thing starts to go the way that I think you and I both anticipate it's going to go, and I think a lot of Kings analysts and pundits think this is going to go, it's going to be hard for us to be like, let's not jump the gun. Let's not jump the gun on these conversations because the season's still going on. But it's hard when, like I said earlier, these 25 games are probably going to end up in the play-in, which means your entire season comes down to 2 games.
And if they get in, then this is all a moot point because I think everyone is safe. If Monty McNair is still here, there is no world. I still feel 1,000% confident that if Monty McNair keeps his job, right, at the end of the season, doesn't matter what happens. I don't care. Monty McNair is the coach heading into next season. Doug Christie will be the coach. I do feel comfortable. They will not move on from Doug Christie and keep Monty McNair. That's a combination. That's a Rubik's Cube combination I don't think is possible.
They won't because they won't be allowed to?
I just don't think they would do it. I think that, again, it depends. Whoever is believing in this Doug Christie investment, I think some of that is Monty McNair. So I think that if you hold on to Monty McNair, you're not you've just been roasted about your stability. So if Vivek says, you know what, I do want to look more stable, Monty, let's go. We're going to give you one more go at this. I don't see Monty saying, okay, now I want another coach. That would be 3 coaches in 2 seasons. I don't see that happening. This is all based on if they move on from Monty. If they don't move on from Monty, I don't see a world, even if they miss the playoffs, whatever, I don't see a world of them moving on from Doug. It's all based on if they move on from Monty.
I think that all comes down, though, to what the decision was in the first place. Was it a decision by them to name Doug the interim coach? Because, again, they could have gone Jay Triano, who has interim coaching experience. They could have gone with Luke Laux, who was ahead of Doug Christie on the bench. Was it the decision to go Doug Christie from Monty McNair in the front office on short term, or was that a Vivek and Matina and people in the organization have a vested interest in Doug Christie succeeding, and all those other coaches probably aren't going to be on the staff next year. So Doug has to build out a new staff basically from scratch. I mean, I won't say completely from scratch. Jay Triano's in a weird place where it's like he's almost 70 years old and not really in a position to get an NBA head coaching job anytime soon. So I guess that's just a conversation of going all the way back to whether Monty McNair did or didn't do a press conference. What led to the decision to name Doug the interim coach in the first place? And do you feel like he's done a good enough job to merit another full season with a group that's ultimately going to make or break Monty McNair's job?
The conversation about Jimmy Butler and whether or not I was wrong or not is on the other side. Also, someone who battled with Malik Monk for Sixth Man of the Year is expected to opt out and enter free agency. This brother is about to get paid. We'll tell you who it is on the other side. Allen Stiles, Sacktown Sports.
Tonight, Kings and Hornets. King Night with Scott Marsh and the high flyer Henry Turner starts at 5:30. Tip-off at 7.
The Kings play here on Sacktown Sports.
Sacktown Sports, 1140.
What's up? We're talking to Chad Hoblet of Hoblet Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Woodland. Chad, tell me what's happening for the President's Day sales event.
Right now, save thousands and thousands more in the years to come when you save up to $14,000 off MSRP on all remaining new 2024 Jeep Grand Cherokee 4xe plug-in hybrids.
Chad, on all remaining 2024 Jeep Grand Cherokee 4xe plug-in hybrids?
Yes, all of them. And with 56 MPGE, you'll love hauling the family around in one of America's favorite SUVs. Plus, you can't miss the Hoblet Certified Pre-Owned Supercenter with over 220 vehicles available and 40 starting under $20,000.
Don't miss your chance to save. Search, select, and save through their whole inventory at HobletDodge.com. Unbeatable prices, unbeatable selection. Nobody beats Hoblet, period.
14,000 total net savings on all remaining new 2024 Jeep Grand Cherokee 4xe plug-in models after 8,500 factory rebates and 5,500 dealer discounts. Rebates include 500 first responder bonus cash for eligible members. At least 5 of this net savings. See dealer for details.
The PGA club fitters at the Hagen Oaks Player Performance Studio know that golf should be fun. They also know that players of all abilities will hit the ball farther and straighter, play better golf, shoot lower scores, and have more fun if they get fitted before they purchase golf clubs. Hagen Oaks delivers the same technology and major brands used to fit PGA and LPGA professionals. See how the game can be even more fun. Hagen Oaks Player Performance Studio fittings are available 7 days a week. Make yours today by calling 916-808-2531. That's 808-2531.
Sacramento's premier country music festival, Country in the Park, is coming back May 16th and 17th at Cal Expo with Bailey Zimmerman, Billy Currington, Cole Wetzel, Nate Smith, and more. You'll enjoy food trucks, rock walls, and a mechanical bull, line dancing, and more. Single-day GA tickets start at $52 at CITPFest.com. Country in the Park, May 16th and 17th with the California Army National Guard. Find out more at CITPFest.com.
Hey, everybody, it's your boy Kyle Draper. You know I'm a big guy, right, everybody? So sometimes, even my SUV or sedan, I want a little more space. Maybe I want to take the fellas to the football game or to the basketball game. Maybe I want to go golfing. Well, Mercedes-Benz of Stockton has the perfect solution. They have a Vans Fleet Center, and they understand your business needs. They understand your personal needs as well. They have a great inventory and a huge selection, and plus they have the perfect van to power your fleet, including the new fully electric eSprinter alongside those reliable diesel options. So if you're looking for a new van just for personal reasons or even for your business fleet, head on over to Mercedes-Benz of Stockton. And get this, you can take advantage of their exclusive limited time 0% APR financing offer for up to 60 months on select models. So head down to Mercedes-Benz of Stockton or online at mbfstockton.com and tell them Drape sent you.
Your home for Kings talk and so much more.
Live and local.
Allen Stiles on Sacktown Sports.
Someone's giving me a hard time saying I'm giving bad luck because I'm wearing Hornets colors, so I Googled it. They got that little green twang, though. But it's too close. I agree with you, Ash.
I'm wearing Hornets colors. That's more blue.
If you Google it right now, it's right in between both of our shirts. Literally.
The literal color that they list is teal. I don't think that's teal. I think that's more like sky blue is the color of your shirt.
Mm-hmm.
Mine's closer to a teal, but I think even I have a little bit more blue. But both of ours are a little too light to be exactly Hornet colors, but I think even mine's closer. Also, we kind of didn't acknowledge that for people on the YouTube. Hey, Stiles and I are twinning today. How about that?
They're different. They're different.
But they're basically the same.
That's right.
Yours is sky blue. Mine is, little greener.
Tealy, yeah.
Well, don't say teal because that's the Hornets colors.
Right, not tealy. Aquamarine.
Aquamarine, sure. Speaking of colors and Hornets, since we're talking about it, did you know that Sac State green is actually its own distinct color? Like on the list of color palettes, you can get Sacramento State green as its own individual color.
I did not know that.
Yeah. On a color palette, you can ask for Sacramento State green, and it is its own very specific shade of green.
So I was just trying to get some information on the conversation we were having about Doug Christie. I will put it to you like this. There seems like there is more of a world where Doug could survive a GM change than I was giving it credit for. Not to say that that's for sure, but the idea of I'll let you fill in the blanks, where the ties are, where the links are, there's a good chance he'd be safe.
I mean, there's
a good chance he'd be safe. That's all I'm going to say.
Let's take it back to football for a second. And this is not a great example when you're talking about organizational stability, but the Jaguars wanted to keep Trent Baalke.
Mm-hmm.
They ended up, obviously Trent Baalke was not liked. So that's a key difference there. They wanted to keep him. When head coaching candidates started dropping out of the running because of Trent Baalke, they ended up firing Trent Baalke and just getting the person they wanted in the first place, and then hiring a guy who used to work with Liam Cohen in Los Angeles as the GM.
Right.
If general manager candidates start dropping out left and right because of the inability to pick their own coach, or don't feel comfortable with the arranged marriage situation of coach and GM, then I think we might come back and have a different conversation. But I don't see any reason why that would be the case right now, because, like you said, Doug is very well liked organizationally in Sacramento and beyond. I don't think it would inhibit the power of the general manager to make roster decisions. But if for some reason general manager candidates in this hypothetical scenario where Monty McNair doesn't come back next year end up dropping out, then I think maybe we'll come back and start having a different conversation.
Yeah. So great stuff there. Thank you for that info as we move forward. And I do want to say, though, I mean, I'm trying to get it on the camera here. And if you're driving, yeah, I'm in a blue. It's baby blue to me. But I got it matched. Kyle, can the camera see this? I got my Leonardo.
Your computer is blocking.
Okay,
it, so
I got my Leonardo socks on. You never seen Ninja Turtle socks like this.
They do look good.
Thank you.
Although Leonardo's face is really stretched out right now.
So I'm at the very least, it's not those colors. All right.
Leonardo's face kind of looks like that one Pablo Picasso painting with the ladies.
It's just, yeah, it's like a bad tattoo, but hey, thank you. I got it from my grandma-in-law. She gets me a lot of socks. So thank you, Grandma, for the Leonardo socks from the Ninja Turtles. Kyle, I don't know if you've ever heard of them. All right.
Yes, I know who the Ninja Turtles are.
Okay. As we get to this Jimmy Butler conversation, the 916 has said, Allen, you going to stand on business or not? So I'm going to stand on business right now and answer the question, does Allen regret not wanting Jimmy Butler? The Warriors are 5-1 with Jimmy Butler. If you've been listening to this show, you know I never wanted Jimmy Butler. I don't want the drama. I don't want any of it. So I'm going to answer this question the easiest way I can. Do I regret not wanting Jimmy Butler? Hell no. I do not regret not wanting Jimmy Butler. Okay. Look, we just saw with the Sacramento Kings that fit matters. All right. I don't know if that deal would have been DeRozan for Jimmy Butler, because you can't have them both on the same team. And let's say it is. Okay. Let's say it is DeMar DeRozan for Jimmy Butler, and you add Jimmy, so it's, what is it now? Jimmy, and you can't have Zach. I don't think you can have Zach LaVine on that team with Jimmy.
No.
So I don't even know what in the world it looks like. I'm not even getting into the nooks and crannies of it. Hell no, I don't want Jimmy Butler on this team. Look, the Warriors, he's working out for them. Jimmy wanted to play. Look, he's ring chasing. All right. And I think that is something that the Warriors needed. Everybody talks about how the Warriors want to get up and down, want to run. They don't even really do that the same way anymore. You know, with Steph and Draymond, they've kind of changed their game a little bit. And Andrew Wiggins, you just weren't getting production. So for them, Jimmy looks great. Does that make me regret not wanting Jimmy Butler on the Kings? No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. 916. And I know they're whatever they are, 5-1. But no, I don't regret not wanting Jimmy Butler. Keep that. He didn't want to come to Sacramento. We don't want him, or I don't want him in Sacramento. And he wouldn't have done squat for the Kings. So no, I don't want him on the Sacramento Kings. I don't care what they're doing.
I mean, Bleacher Report had 3 trades that could solve this Jimmy Butler situation, and Sacramento was one of them. However, I'm going to agree with you. It didn't make sense for the Sacramento Kings, but you were just making the blatant statement of, I don't want the mess of Jimmy Butler.
No, and I don't.
No, but that's silly.
But Kyle, my point is there are 2 places where Jimmy would have been happy: the Suns or the Warriors.
But that wasn't even true. It was just the Suns. True. And then you know what changed?
Yeah, no. Originally, the agent did they had, 3 teams first? And Jimmy.
Yeah, Dallas was on there.
And Jimmy and the Warriors were one of those teams. So good for them, whatever.
But what changed is the one thing that I would push back on with you is the Warriors were willing to give him a 2-year max contract.
That's right.
So
you want to pay that? I'm still not paying that for Jimmy.
Jimmy Butler didn't go do this for ring chasing. Jimmy Butler did this to get paid. All of this was about money. From the very beginning, all of this was about money for Jimmy Butler. And the Jimmy Butler mess, quote unquote.
Yeah, it's a mess.
One team's mess is the reason why the Golden State Warriors championship window feels like it's open even the slightest amount.
Well, let's hold on now. Let's pause a little bit. They're 5-1. They look really good.
No, I'm not saying this year. I'm saying a full year next year.
530 says, wouldn't it have been Fox for Butler, not LaVine? Why couldn't he coexist?
No, it was
brother or sister.
It was not.
Can we imagine? Close your eyes. Not if you're driving. Can you imagine a world with DeMar DeRozan and Jimmy Butler
and Malik Monk?
Like that spacing is atrocious. The defense would be better. That spacing would be atrocious. I can't believe. It doesn't all. This isn't 2K. I don't want Jimmy Butler unless he wants me. And Jimmy Butler, yeah, he gets to play with Steph and Draymond and everything is honky dory. I don't care. I still stand by what I said. I didn't want the Jimmy, and I definitely won't want to pay that brother $60 million a year.
That's the one
at
part.
35. It's all fun and good, and you know, just. They're 30, they're 36. It's team AARP. They're 36, 36, 34, whatever it is. They better win it because that's it.
Well, they're not going to win it this year. They're just too far back. I was saying the championship window slightly opens next year if they make the right moves.
They still need another piece.
But I think you're right. That Jimmy Butler on the Kings wouldn't have made any sense. Where I think you need to repent, and you've done some of it, is you were saying nobody should want the Jimmy Butler.
Nobody.
Mess.
Besides one team. Because I don't think he would have helped the Suns. It was literally just the Warriors.
But the Warriors were only in that camp because they were desperate.
I know. And they got... Yeah, so basically there were reports that Steph didn't know how the locker room would work.
It's not even that they lucked into it. It's that they didn't get Kevin Durant.
Or Zach LaVine, actually.
Yes. And so then they decided... we'll pay Jimmy Butler a 2-year max because we literally have no other choice. Yeah. And by the way, the price went down so much that all they had to give up was Wiggins, Kyle Anderson, and a first-round pick.
It's dumb luck and Schroeder out there in Detroit.
Don't forget, Lindy Waters III, also tough.
It's just dumb luck, and they're only 5-1.
It's not dumb luck. They were desperate. they've waited out Miami, and they happened to fall into Jimmy Butler. Good on them. One team's mess became their, again, different circumstances, but it's like with Kyrie Irving going to Dallas. Dallas was the only team desperate enough to trade for Kyrie Irving, and that mess, one team's mess, became Dallas's good fortune. One team's mess is about to become Golden State's fortune.
Fortune of second round. Div says, to be fair, we do have $70 million tied up in both LaVine and DeMar DeRozan. Jimmy at 60 isn't too crazy in comparison. Yes, it is. That's two players. If LaVine goes off to 40 tonight, no, we are not having this conversation. If he goes off for 25 tonight, I don't look. Two things can be true. LaVine and DeMar DeRozan don't work, and Jimmy wouldn't have worked either.
Yeah,
it's not that one is better than the other.
Jimmy Butler making $50 million requires you to pay into the luxury tax to build around that team, which, by the way, Golden State Warriors are willing to do. They're paying a hefty luxury tax bill, which, again, is fine. It just gives you leeway to make more mistakes. I think if the deal had been Kevin Huerter, Trey Lyles, and DeMar DeRozan, it would have looked better for the Kings. But again, the fit would not have made any sense, especially if you're going to trade De'Aaron Fox anyways. So I agree with you on the Kings point. You are just being disrespectful to Jimmy Butler.
Well, we'll see.
You're saying nobody should want Jimmy Butler.
And they pair him with the best shooter of all time. It's just all luck. All right.
If Memphis had gotten Jimmy Butler, they would be a finals contender right now.
No, they wouldn't.
I promise you.
No. I saw a tweet. It says the Grizzlies use Ja like Tyus Jones. Those brothers have no identity. Jimmy wouldn't have helped. Give me a break with this. They're 5-1. We'll see what happens. If they had traded
Marcus Smart and LaRavia.
No. And don't disrespect LaRavia like that. All right, we got to get to a break. On the other side, what is on the line tonight? How much do the Kings need this W and what they are in jeopardy of if they do not get it? Allen Stiles, Sacktown Sports.
Tonight, Kings and Hornets. King Night with Scott Marsh and the high flyer Henry Turner starts at 5:30. Tip-off at 7.
The Kings play here on Sacktown Sports.
Sacktown Sports, 1140.
Hurry in and save big during Honda's President's Day sales event at Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop.
Hurry in and save on our best selection of new Hondas. Each is priced to sell now. Folsom Lake Honda is your one-stop Honda shop for great pricing on a giant selection of new CRVs, HRVs, Civics, and Accords with low finance and lease options. Plus, get an instant cash offer for your trade. Get to Folsom Lake Honda or go to FolsomLakeHonda.com.
Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop.
Hi, this is Greg Papa. Disasters hit every day. If your home, business, or building has suffered from any disaster, SunPoint Public Adjusters can help. SunPoint prepares, presents, and negotiates your claim with the insurance company, working only for you, making sure you get everything you're entitled to and letting your focus be on what's most important, your family or your business. Call SunPoint today at 888-247-7865 or contact us at sunpoint.us. SunPoint Public Adjusters, the gold standard in public adjusting.
License number 2N14884.
Come check out Capital Casino, Sacramento's #1 poker room with the most variety of table games in the region in a safe and friendly environment. Plenty of well-lit parking available, conveniently located in downtown Sacramento. And remember, Capital Casino has the best food, the best service, and the best action. 411 North 16th Street in downtown Sacramento. For more information, log on to capital-casino.com and please gamble responsibly. 1-800-GAMBLER.
If you're 55 and up, T-Mobile has plans built just for you. 2 lines of unlimited for just $30 a line. That's a 45% savings compared to Verizon and AT&T. But don't just take our word for it.
It's not just the savings that are great with our T-Mobile plan. There's all this value from all these other things that T-Mobile offers. T-Mobile has been such a savings for us.
We love it.
Switch today and get 2 free 5G phones like the Motorola Edge with Turbo Power charging that gives you power for the day in just 15 minutes. And customers 55 and up can get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for only $30 a line. Go to T-Mobile.com/choice55 to learn more.
With
with AutoPay plus taxes and fees, plus $5 per line without AutoPay. Debit or bank account required. 45% off 2 lines versus AT&T Starter and Verizon Welcome. Plan benefits vary. Motorola Edge on us with 24 monthly bill credits and new line for well-qualified customers, plus tax and $35 per line connection charge. See details at T-Mobile.com. Motorola Edge requires 68-watt charger. Charger sold separately. Actual performance will vary based on usage and configuration.
Allen Stiles
You can join the show by texting 916-339-1140
on Sacktown Sports.
That player that I mentioned about opting out, he beat out Malik Monk last season for Sixth Man of the Year. Malik probably would have won it if he got injured, but I saw a clip. Nas Reed is starting to evolve. He's taken, I know that he barely jumps on his threes. He doesn't have to. He's about 7 foot. But I saw him cook this dude. And look, Nas Reed, it's so funny the similarities between Malik and Nas Reed, because he's another guy where it's you move on from Karl Anthony Towns whenever he was injured. Nas Reed comes in. He's a starter and balls out as a starter. Then they kick him back to the bench. They make the trade. Instead of bringing Nas Reed to the starting lineup, you get Julius Randle. Even though it doesn't look great, his name is Julius Randle. So Nas Reed back to the bench. Now, Julius Randle injured, Nas Reed is cooking again. And you know what Nas Reed said? As Nas Reed, probably one of the best deals in the NBA. Nas Reed making, again, relatively speaking, a measly $13.9 million for what he's been doing. Yeah, the reports are he's opting out of, or he will opt out of his contract. He's supposed to make $15 million. That brother is about to cash out. And I don't know if it's going to be with the Timberwolves. And he says, look, kind of, and I know Malik Monk came back and didn't start initially. Does Nas Reed say, I don't know what y'all want to do with Julius Randle, but I can start on a bunch of different teams. He's going to be making, he's probably going to get into the 20s, maybe even the 30s, his next contract. So, he can go to the Timberwolves and say, I might be out of here. And maybe he's already out of here, which again would go back to the conversation of the Timberwolves being a better version, but also a mess similar to the Sacramento Kings. They just have a franchise guy and the Kings don't. But you lose Nas Reed, and if you lose Nas Reed, you have Julius Randle, you have Anthony Edwards, obviously.
Hold on, they don't have Julius Randle because he's a free agent.
Right, Julius Randle will be gone. I don't know what the Timberwolves. That's why I don't know what they're going to do this season. Obviously, the Kings have to take care of business, but the Timberwolves are in a complete mess.
The Kings and Timberwolves are in the same situation, which is this. They have one franchise cornerstone, right? Mm-hmm. Timberwolves have Anthony Edwards. Kings have Domantas Sabonis. Obviously, Anthony Edwards is younger, and we all think he has a super high ceiling. Right. But they've got one franchise cornerstone, and they got to ask themselves, what do they want to do around that?
Yeah.
And obviously, Minnesota still has Rudy Gobert probably making too much money, but they've had a top 5 defense every season Rudy Gobert's been there. So at least they can hang their hat on that. But yeah, Nas Reed is going to be a free agent. Julius Randle is going to be a free agent. They were planning on trading Mike Conley this offseason, which is why they drafted Rob Dillingham. So they have no future draft picks. Mm-hmm. So they got to really make some decisions about what they want to do to try and build around Anthony Edwards.
Yeah, and I'm just looking here, not to get too far in the weeds. I mean, as far as the big names and big money, the free agents, LeBron has got that player option. Fred VanVleet has a club option. I was just, as far as, well, people might want to play with Anthony Edwards, not a ton of big names for the Timberwolves to go and get. James Harden will be, or he has a player option. A lot of Kyrie has a player option. James Harden has a player option. So Kyrie might be the biggest name because I know, we all assume LeBron is staying, but yeah, they're in a weird situation. John Collins, but these aren't guys that you're going to say, wow, they're really building something out there in Minnesota. Y'all want to keep having this Butler conversation. I'm not changing my stance. The 925 says, I'm taking Kuminga and Butler over DeRozan and Levine. Maybe, right? I think that's kind of manipulating the situation.
I think that's tough also because Kuminga might not be on the Warriors after this season.
Right. Restricted free agent.
Hey, Timberwolves, you want to throw $25 million at Jonathan Kuminga?
No, I don't think they do. 916 says, could have traded DeMar and Fox for Jimmy and Hero. Spacing would have been better and the defense. 916. This is where we end the conversation.
No,
the Heat were never coming off of Tyler Hero.
The Miami Heat wouldn't have traded Tyler Hero 3 years ago for James Harden on the Rockets.
Tyler Hero, that was never going to happen.
Now he's actually good.
Yeah.
Now he's an all-star.
Yeah, that was never going to happen. But yeah, that's just what it is. As we keep the conversation going about who is on the Sacramento Kings, this is a huge game for the Kings. You know, the Kings are in jeopardy right now of falling to the 11 seed. They're 1.5 games back of the 9 seed Warriors now, only 1.5 games ahead of Phoenix, who luckily they lost to Toronto yesterday. It's a complete mess. Anything could flip with the Suns at any point. I know I keep saying that, but the Kings also keep losing games. So they're giving the Phoenix a chance. So they're 3 games back of the 6 seed, 6.5 games back of the 5 seed Rockets, who the Rockets, man, oh man, I remember when they were the 2 seed. And it's funny because the last time the Kings played the Rockets, they were both in much better situations, and we were all talking trash to each other. It was the Rockets, I think, as the 2 seed, and the Kings as the 7 seed or something really close to the 6 seed.
During the win streak.
That's right. And now all of a sudden, the Rockets are the 5 seed, and the Kings are fighting for the 10 seed or the 9 seed.
Not only are the Rockets the 5 seed, they lost 6 in a row.
Yeah, it's not good. So this is a huge look. As much as I can poo-poo, or I guess expect the Kings to beat the Hornets, who will start our preview in the 1 o'clock hour. As much as I can poo-poo this game and poo-poo the game on Wednesday, you need them all. And that's why I'm kind of poo-pooing them, because I don't even want to think about a world where you don't win those games. You know, so you have an opportunity for the Kings to get back on the right track and at least give themselves a chance to still get to 7 or 8. You're 500. You win these 2 games. You're 2 games over 500. Like I said, you do have that tough stretch in March, but anything can happen. I'm having some fun with the whole Jimmy Butler thing, but yeah, I'm not worried about the Warriors as far as winning the whole thing. I'm worried about the Warriors at the very worst taking up a spot in that 7 or 8. I know the Warriors, honestly, they have their eyes set on the 6 seed, and that also isn't good, because that would mean now the Clippers or you know, the Lakers, whoever has also entered the chat for that 7-8. So any way you spin it, the Warriors pushing teams down is not good. So games like tonight are huge, and there's a real possibility here that the Kings, if the Suns just one day say, we're actually going to play half of what our roster is worth and what our roster is costing, this is not good for the Kings. I mean, you know, and everyone says, somebody on the text line said, Allen, what's the Kings record when you say it's a must win? You probably just set it up so they're losing tonight. I don't even say must win. I stopped saying must win months ago.
You just started adjusting expectations.
Yeah, you probably should win this game. That's what I've been saying. You should probably win this game if you would like to play in the postseason.
I guess we'll guess the spread in a little bit. And I'm glad that we got this, because I wanted to bring up the Suns in the 11 seed just to make this point, which is on Friday, some people were talking about how we sounded maybe a little too pessimistic on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Kyle Draper. Kyle Draper. Kyle Draper.
Wait, Kyle said, wait, hold on. No, hold on.
Kyle
now.
Draper.
Hold on now. What did Kyle say?
Kyle Draper. No one said anything. I'm just saying some people were saying that
on his show,
we're maybe a little too pessimistic about the outlook.
He said it by name?
No, he said while I was driving in listening to the radio. So, you know.
He said that on Friday?
I just happened to be listening before I left, you know. Yeah.
I was right there.
No, you were at Chipotle with
that's
an unnamed executive.
But Friday, I just got roasted. Okay, continue.
Yeah, I say, you know, we're being a little too pessimistic. Kyle Draper.
Well, that's, you know what? I'm not going to do it.
And so here's the thing is, we were talking about 9-10, and I was pretty firm. Like, they might get the 9, they might get the 10. It doesn't matter because you're in the same set of circumstances either way. My saving grace was that I think the Mavericks might fall apart here just because of all the bad vibes around everything that's happening. And they've continued to win games. I give them immense credit. They've just continued to win despite everything working against them and their fans actively holding funerals and protesting outside the arena, which at least that's not happening in Sacramento.
Yeah.
However, Phoenix is... If you took every player on the Phoenix Suns and every player on the Sacramento Kings, you could make a reasonable argument the two best players on the floor would be Devin Booker and Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
I would hear out the Sabonis conversation at number 1. I could hear it out at number 3 and any combination in between. So it's not like the Phoenix Suns are devoid of talent, and one injury from either side could swing the season in either direction for both teams. The biggest argument people make against the Suns is, well, the Suns have no depth and terrible vibes. When was the last time we said the Kings are a deep team under any circumstances? So
yeah,
I think we were trying to be nuanced, but there is a world where they fall. And I think the Warriors blowout highlight that is like, you are 2 games away from being completely out of the playoff picture altogether.
The biggest thing that the Kings have going for them in terms of holding on to the 10 seed. And can I just say, thank whoever it is that if you pray, whoever it is you pray to, look, obviously we want Wemby to come back, but can you imagine if the Spurs got spicy? I know they weren't playing that well, but if the Spurs were getting spicy and the Spurs took that 10 seed, oh my goodness. I might have to call in sick if that happened.
I might show up in cowboy boots one day just to drive home the point.
And I don't, we won't have to deal with that. But I'm looking here, and the only saving grace for the Kings when it comes to the Suns, and I know the Kings right now, 5th toughest schedule according to Tankathon. Phoenix Suns still holding steady at number 1. So the Suns, it's just not going to get better for them. It is crazy to look at this and just see how the games are just starting to dwindle out. And obviously there's teams in the middle, so they don't include everyone. But the Suns still have to play the Cavs again, the Thunder again, the Celtics twice, the Nuggets, the Knicks, the Grizzlies twice. So the Suns still holding on with the toughest strength of schedule. So that is, I think, the biggest saving grace there. But it doesn't mean that they can't turn it on. And again, it's not as if the Sacramento Kings are 27th. The Kings are 5th. So that's something that, as much as it makes you feel good, it's not as if the Kings, just have a walkover schedule. That's why tonight, I'm not going to say MW. I'm going to say you should probably win this game if you'd like to play in the postseason.
We'll say that in order to get the 6th seed, you got to win 20 of the last 26. And if you're not
can
going
we
to win,
stop with that? The 6th seed is cooked. All right.
You said on Friday they were going to be the 7th seed.
That's because Jake made me. Jake Gain of CBS. He pressured me into saying that. On the other side, we have the Kings Hornets preview. One thing to do: stop LaMelo Ball. Allen Stiles, Sacktown Sports.
Online, easy way to get life insurance in 10 minutes. Ethos has rates that you can afford, like a $500,000 policy for a 40-year-old male starting at $1 a day or $30 a month with a few health questions and no medical exam. Get your free quote right now at checkethos.com. That's checkethos.com. Not available in all states. Rates do vary.
Sherry, what have you done to your hair?
What do you mean? Does it not look good?
It doesn't look good. It looks freaking amazing. I can't believe how thick and healthy it looks. Oh, I must know your secret.
No secret. It's hair volume from New Nordic.
Hair volume, huh? Well, it certainly lives up to its name. Your hair has never looked so thick. It is gorgeous.
I was so tired of having thin and brittle hair. Ugh, and the shedding. So I figured I'd give hair volume a try. Needless to say, I'm thrilled with the results. Hey, where are you going?
I'm going to pick up some hair volume right now. My reunion's next month and I want my hair to look as good as yours.
Hair Volume is the best-selling hair tablet in the world and one of many award-winning natural health products from New Nordic, the #1 supplier of dietary supplements in Scandinavia. Purchase at newnordicusa.com or your local CVS. Available as a tablet or delicious gummy. Help your hair look full, voluminous, and beautiful again at newnordicusa.com or CVS.
At Stockton Honda, we know how to honor a great deal. Like right now, during our President's Day sales event, you can find star-spangled savings on some of our best models. Why not stop in today and see for yourself? Save thousands with low APR financing and great lease rates on over 500 new Hondas at Stockton Honda.
Anytime, anywhere, it's all here. StocktonHonda.com.
Hey, it's Carmichael Dave coming to you from my good friends at American Energy. Look, it's already cold outside. It's only going to get colder. American Energy wants to help you stay warm and make sure your system is operating safely. So right now is the time to take advantage of the $49 tune-up inspection. Normally, $119, $49 right now, and that includes a full safety and duct inspection. And check it out. If your system's over 10 years old, and I'll bet it is, the tune-up, yeah, it's free. It's free from a company that's been in business since 1981, serving the greater Sacramento area. A+ Better Business Bureau. Check their Yelp, check their Google reviews. Don't take my word for it. Give them a call right now. $50 off your first recommended repair. If you need a new furnace, half off the price of a new unit. Check them out at theaeway.com and tell them Carmichael Dave sent you.
Call 916-520-9998 now.
Danzig live. With special guests Down, Aboth, and Cro-Mags. Saturday, March 22nd, 6 p.m., the venue at Thunder Valley. On sale now. For tickets, visit ThunderValleyResort.com. Don't miss Danzig.
The huge President's Day sale is on at Maida Chevy, Sacramento's Silverado headquarters. Save $10,250 off MSRP after rebates on new half-ton Silverado LT after rebates with over 50 in stock. And Maida Chevy has one of the largest selections in the Sacramento area. $10,250 off new 2025 Silverado at Maida Chevy. Now that's big, huge. See them all at MaidaChevy.com. Together, let's drive.
I'm George Washington, and I approved this message. Not available with special financing, leasing, some other offers. 5 to the South, Mustang 2011 or newer Chevrolet.
KHTK HD1 Sacramento, KYMX HD3 Sacramento.
Your home for Kings basketball for over 25 seasons.
Hammer time thrown down by the league.
From the Power Business Technology Toshiba Studios.
Sacktown Sports, 1140. Your home for Kings talk and so much more.
Live and local.
Allen Stiles on Sacktown Sports.
So I told everyone earlier in the show that I reached out to Sean Cunningham, who was in the building for Kings shoot-around on Saturday when Jersey Gate began. And what Jersey Gate is, if you aren't aware, Jersey Gate is how Keon Ellis was wearing a black jersey, and black jerseys typically denote the starters. So everyone took a screenshot. Keon Ellis is starting, blah, 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 blah. So I hit up Sean and I said, hey, is there something to this? And Sean said, well, we don't get to come in until after practice. So really, you know, if you've ever been in a basketball practice yourself or your kids or whoever, you can switch up the teams. So they don't get to see scrimmages. They just see the end of the team drills and things like that. So Keon was wearing a black jersey doesn't necessarily mean he was wearing a black jersey the whole time. Also doesn't mean it doesn't mean that he was or wasn't, right? So Sean Cunningham in the shooting round today posted a 2-minute long video, and he says, a glimpse into this morning's shoot around as the Kings prepare to welcome the Hornets to Golden One Center. For those of you loving the jersey watch as of late, this should look particularly fun. And you have Malik, who's wearing a hoodie. He doesn't have a jersey on, gray or black. At one point, he's given a jersey. DeMar is wearing a black shirt. He's not wearing a black jersey. And the whole thing kind of gets debunked where at some point pretty early in the video, you see Mason Jones walking around with a black jersey on.
Ooh.
Yes. So unless something has gone completely in a different direction. Let's just wait and see what happens tonight.
All right. So starting lineup tonight, Scott Moak is going to be on the PA.
Mm-hmm.
Going to be Domantas Sabonis and Zach
Confirmed in black jerseys that I can see. Keegan, Zach LaVine,
Keon, and Mason Jones.
Because I don't even see, I didn't even find Domas. Malik Monk is given a jersey, and he's unraveling the jersey, but the video does not have him actually opening the jersey.
Starting at guard from Arkansas, Mason Jones.
So there you go. We'll see what happens there. I think something could happen eventually. It's just a matter of when. And here's what's tough, right? I guess the level is, how bad are you these next couple games? If you lose to the Hornets or the Jets, if you don't go 2-0, I think we could see some movement. You go 2-0, and we know, okay, at least they're not as bad as a 14-win Hornets team they got those 14 wins probably from different lineups when they were healthier. So that's the very least. So wanted to give you a note on that. The 916 says we need to talk about Fultz more. He could be a key addition if he is truly healthy as we kick off our Kings Hornets preview. Yeah, that's a good point, 916. And you had a lot of people freaking out because Markelle Fultz went down to the G League. I don't even know if it was for a game. I think it was just for a practice. And, they have to do everything officially. So you get the communications note out that Markelle Fultz has been assigned to G League. People freak out. That was on Saturday, I believe. And on Sunday, he was recalled back to the Kings. So everybody that was freaking out, this organization, I think Carmichael Dave even might have had a little eyebrow up when that came out. But basically, they just had to report it. But he went down to get a little bit more work in. And look, man, that dunk was he took off. He took off on that dunk. I'm trying to remember if he took a jump shot or not. But he took off on that dunk. I'll give him that. I didn't really see him make that much. He played 10 minutes, 4 or 5 from the field. So he didn't take a 3, 8 points, 1 assist. I need to see more. But again, I'm not going to hate on anybody, any fan right now just looking for hope. And we can talk about the fact that talking about Markelle Fultz being that hope says something about where the Kings are at right now, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to say, you know what? You might be onto something. We'll see what happens with Markelle Fultz. 10 minutes, the over-under. I can't remember what we set the over-under on as far as Markelle Fultz minutes. Kyle, over-under Markelle Fultz minutes tonight. Does he get over 10? He got 10 against the Warriors, but obviously some garbage time mixed in there. Does he get 10 against the Hornets? Over, under 10.
I don't know. Are we going to have garbage time again tonight? Or
I hope.
Markelle Fultz, I will give him credit. I thought he was going to play not at all on Friday, and he basically dunked over Buddy Hield. Now, Buddy Hield got out of the way at the very end because he was like, I'm not about to end up on a poster. But they had a 2-on-1, and I was like, pass it. And then he dunked over Buddy Hield.
When he took off, and a lot of people said, oh, I didn't know he had it like that. Because he took off, I'm thinking that's a little far, a little long jumpy, and he got there with authority.
I'll say because they're going to probably need someone to guard LaMelo Ball outside of Keon Ellis. I'll go. You said 10 minutes. I'll go under, but not by a lot. I think he's going to play probably 8.5 minutes.
Okay. I'm going to go over. I think the Kings is a feel-good game. And I think he even makes it 3. And I'm praying that Jake LaRavia finally makes a 3.
I hope that Markelle Fultz doesn't take a single shot longer than 4 feet.
I would say, as we get into prop talk at the end of the show here, be careful with prop talk. You know why? Because the starters aren't going to be playing that much. How about that?
So Mason Jones props. How
That's
about
right.
that? Oh, I'm sorry. My bad. Mason Jones is
He's
a starter.
So you won't have to worry about that.
Yeah, Mason Jones is going to sit during garbage time because they're going to be up so much.
The 209 says, wait, who is Mason Jones?
That I had to just turn that genuinely made me laugh.
Who is Mason? Just Google it 209 during the next break.
Mason Jones is what would Mason Jones be if not for a basketball player on the Kings? Mason Jones is the guy pulling third shift at a restaurant. Like just waiting tables, 6 p.m. at night.
What does that even mean? That sounds disrespectful.
Just like, hi, my name is Mason. Your waiter's name is Mason, but it's specifically the night shift. Mason's a big night owl.
That is disrespectful to Mason Jones. You're saying if he wasn't in the league?
No, I'm saying a man named Mason Jones. Like if you had no idea who Mason Jones was, and I just gave you a person named Mason Jones.
And now a different 209 is saying, Jake who? What is happening here?
Jake Gaydon?
He might have to suit up. He's probably doing squats right now. Who squats in their 30s?
Are they saying Jay who or Jake? So not Crowder.
LaRavia. Come on, y'all. These 209s, they're trolling today. Kings versus Hornets. The number one goal here, as we start our Kings preview, stop LaMelo Ball. LaMelo Ball's new nickname should be Sugar because he's having one of the most empty calorie seasons in NBA history. That was written by Kyle. Nicely done, Kyle. 8th in points per game. And he's also first in the NBA in shots per game. First in the NBA in three-pointers per game. Okay. You have LaMelo at 11.7 per game. And Steph is at 11.1 per game.
Think about that. LaMelo Ball is shooting more three-pointers per game than Stephen Curry.
Worst field goal percentage among the 18 players scoring 24.5 points per game or more at 41.4%. He's first in the NBA in usage rate. James Harden, he's at 36%, 36.7. James Harden, his MVP season, when literally he had the ball the whole time in 2018, it was at 35.9%. Kobe Bryant only had one season in his entire 20-year career with a higher usage rate than 2025 LaMelo Ball. And I've watched it's just very confusing watching them. I feel like there are two options where they lay down pretty early. And, as a coach, it's confusing because it's, okay, well, we stink every game, so we're gonna sit our starters, even though our starters need help, right? I mean, LaMelo's the one guy, and I guess Miles Bridges, where you don't want to do any further damage. But how often? Here's a good stat. You're 14-41. How many times has LaMelo? What is he averaging for minutes? Because how many end of games has he sat out?
I'll tell you exactly what the number is. It's 32.
I'm surprised it's that high.
Which, for reference, he's playing 32 minutes a game and shooting almost a full shot more per game than any player in the NBA not named Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Like it is unfathomable. He is taking a shot, basically, if I'm doing the math in my head, he's taking a shot every 78 seconds. Like every 78 seconds he's on the floor, he is throwing up a shot.
Shoot.
It is crazy. Are they going in? That doesn't matter. He's just shooting so much. And I know people made fun of LaMelo coming out of high school. Well, I guess coming out of Lithuania and Australia, where he went to play. People were making that is weird that his dad pulled him out of high school. Anyways, LaMelo, people made fun of him because he had the game where he scored 100 points.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter how he scored 100 points.
Yeah.
He's doing that in the NBA. Like he ended up in the one spot where they are just allowing the worst tendencies of his game to just flourish. And that he's now year 5 in Charlotte, and it's only gotten more high school LaMelo Ball just on an NBA level.
I wonder, and obviously, look, we don't know the whole Jersey gate. Keon is going to get a solid amount of time, but obviously Keon is averaging about 20-ish, under 25 minutes a game, and LaMelo is at 32. I do wonder, again, this pride conversation. Are the Kings to the point where they're so desperate if Keon is not on the floor? And even if he is, I mean, Keon gets cooked sometimes. And I think that a lot of people get afraid to say that. Like, I'm the one who kind of coined the Ellis Island term. And sometimes like Jalen Brunson, some of these guys, they get him. That it is what it is. if LaMelo Ball is cooking, is it a bad look to have to double LaMelo Ball? A 14-win team. Is there a pride factor there, or is it pride's out the window? We will double LaMelo Ball.
I would triple team LaMelo Ball tonight. Like, I'm serious. Who else is going to beat you? Tajon Salon?
Hey, don't be disrespectful to Tajon. So, it's just weird to me to have to double someone on a 14-win team.
Who else is going to beat you? Wendell Moore Jr.?
Not Wendell Carter Jr.
No, not that one. The other one. You know who's going to start at center tonight for them? Either Yusuf Nurkic or Musa Diabate. Those are the only centers they have on the entire team.
Yeah. So, and someone already said, 209 says, this feels like a game where Miles Bridges will go off for 40 plus. That's really the only other thing that could happen, right? Miles Bridges actually, balls out.
Good news. The last time the Hornets came into Golden One Center and beat the Kings last year, it was because it was PJ Washington was the guy who had 40 points against the Kings. And PJ Washington's not there anymore.
Not here. Not on the team.
We don't have to worry about that. I think PJ Washington literally had 37 the last time he played for the Hornets against the Kings.
You want to know how bad the Hornets are? Well, we'll tell you on the other side. They are coming off a 53-point loss. That is not a typo. And you'll never believe who it was against. Allen Stiles, Sacktown Sports.
Tonight, Kings and Hornets. King Night with Scott Marsh and the high flyer Henry Turner starts at 5:30. Tip-off at 7.
The Kings play here on Sacktown Sports.
Sacktown Sports, 1140.
Hurry in and save big during Honda's President's Day sales event at Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop.
Hurry in and save on our best selection of new Hondas. Each is priced to sell now. Folsom Lake Honda is your one-stop Honda shop for great pricing on a giant selection of new CRVs, HRVs, Civics, and Accords with low finance and lease options. Plus, get an instant cash offer for your trade. Get to Folsom Lake Honda or go to FolsomLakeHonda.com.
Folsom Lake Honda, yeah, your one-stop Honda shop.
It's a myth to think you don't play golf well enough to get fitted for golf clubs. The professionals at the Hagen Oaks Player Performance Studio would argue that playing the game with golf clubs properly fitted to your body and swing characteristics is the best way to improve your game and have more fun on the golf course. With a professional staff of fitters, all the major brands of equipment, and cutting-edge technology featuring TrackMan, the indoor-outdoor Hagen Oaks Player Performance Studio is worth a look. See for yourself, Fulton Avenue at the Cap City Freeway. Schedule your fitting at 916-808-2531, 808-2531.
Allen Stiles
You can join the show by texting 916-339-1140.
on Sacktown Sports.
Drive Guys coming up at 2 to get you ready for the game and game night with Scott Marsh. We will get you there, and we're doing it talking about how bad the Hornets are. Well, they're 28th in net rating, which is awful. They are 27th in offensive rating, which is terrible. They're 15th in defensive rating, which isn't that bad. Now, the Hornets are coming off a 53-point loss on Saturday. A 53-point loss on Saturday. The Hornets are coming off a 53-point loss on Saturday. Against who, you may ask?
That team must be really good then, right?
Was it the Celtics? No. Was it the Cavs? No.
I know they're on a West Coast road trip, so I don't know. Maybe the Clippers?
The Thunder? No.
No.
Lakers? No. It was the Portland Trailblazers.
The who?
The Portland Trailblazers. 141 to 88. 141 to 88. And I would imagine what happened, I would guess, with LaMelo Ball, 5 points, 1 of 10 from the field, over 4 from 3-point. That's not even a lot of shots. Obviously, that game was just atrocious. I would imagine, look, they have some really good defenders. We know this on the Blazers. And I think they put Tumani Kamara, whoever it is, maybe they doubled LaMelo and said somebody else beat us, and that's just not going to happen. I also wonder how many of LaMelo's numbers do come in garbage time where it's, hey, we're not going to double you. We're up by 30, so go ahead and do whatever you want to do. But 53-point loss is just completely embarrassing. The Hornets are, look, the Kings, you can complain about the Kings, and I know you went into the season not in no way comparing yourself to the Hornets, but it can always be worse. And the Charlotte Hornets are showing us just how bad it can be. The Hornets record with LaMelo Ball, 13-22. The Hornets record without LaMelo Ball, 1-19. Their only win was against Phoenix on January 7th. And it's a complete mess. It's a complete nightmare for them. And I would say that, again, we have the pride conversation. There's no room for pride. If you need to double LaMelo Ball and make whoever it is that's playing tonight beat you, Miles Bridges, I think that it'll probably be Keegan on Miles Bridges. I don't mind that matchup. So Keegan shouldn't need any help. And you do what you need to do against LaMelo. And, if somebody says lots of no names have lit up the Kings this year, not just this year, 209, not just this year, a lot of different years. And I get all that, but it's a numbers game. In reality, you shouldn't have to double LaMelo. But LaMelo is a heck of a talent, and I don't want to kind of throw shade at that. They're just not a good team. So, they're not going to double LaMelo from Jump Street. It's if he starts cooking a little bit and you want to make sure, all right, we know we have this in our back pocket. Do we need to start out this way? Not sure. So, you have Mark Williams is not playing. You have Tajon Salah, who probably won't start, but they got Miles Bridges, Josh Green, Nick Smith Jr., LaMelo, Tajon, Wendell Moore Jr., Alfred Payton, and man, what a fall from grace for one Seth Curry. Just based on name, he should be on a contender somewhere.
What do you mean? He's on his hometown team.
I don't care. Yusuf Nurkic had 11 and 8, so he decided to rebound now that he's in Charlotte. So he played 16 minutes. So, I mean,
the Hornets have 10 players active for tonight's game, and the third best player of that group might be a dude named Nick Smith Jr., which I got to be honest, I didn't even know that was an NBA player until this morning because
6'2", surprised the Kings didn't swoop him up.
Who?
He's 6'2". That's perfect size.
Alfred Payton, by the way, is only on a 10-day. So they have 9 players and Alfred Payton on a 10-day. So I don't know if they lose this game tonight.
Oh my goodness. No, I will call in. And Jose might be listening right now. I'm calling it. If the Kings lose, I don't know. I'm going to get dragged to work.
I simply cannot comprehend a world where they lose this game. I can't imagine it, which I guess that last stat that I added is the argument for why he's not just empty calories, because
right
when it's not that LaMelo Ball is putting up empty calories and it's not helping them win. It's that they've given LaMelo Ball just nothing to work with. And yes, Brandon Miller and Mark Williams are out, but remember they traded Mark Williams and now he's back all of a sudden.
Yeah.
So they've just given him nothing to work with here.
Yeah, they would have done well. I mean, Dalton Knecht, I'm high on Dalton Knecht. That would have helped. I think at this point, the Hornets are just, you get Brandon Miller was having a good season before injury. So you got LaMelo, Mark Williams, if he can stay healthy, is a young, a really talented young big. You got LaMelo, you got Brandon Miller. Maybe you get Cooper Flag. You get somebody from this draft.
We mentioned his name earlier, but who I think would be really good on this team is Julius Randle.
Do your thing.
If you put Julius Randle at the 4 with Mark Williams and with Brandon Miller, I feel like that would be a not like a franchise,
at least watchable basketball.
Yeah,
it would be watchable basketball. Dwayne Baker says Del Curry is the color commentary in Charlotte. That is why Seth is there. No, I know, Dwayne. If I'm Seth, though, it ain't worth that. Pops, I'll see you at Thanksgiving.
You know what? I just realized something now that we brought it up. I think if my math is correct, 7 players on this team are just throwaways from other trades.
Probably.
Like Seth Curry, he was just a toss-in for PJ Washington. Grant Williams, who's out for season, he was just a toss-in for the PJ Washington trade. Josh Okogie, who's out tonight, he was just a throw-in of the Nick Richards trade. Same thing for Yusuf Nurkic, who's going to probably start at center tonight for them. Josh Green was just a throw-in from the PJ Washington trade. Dalton Connect and Cam Reddish would have been throw-ins from the Mark Williams trade. This entire team is just dudes who they got that other teams didn't want. It's LaMelo Ball, Tajon Salon, Nick Smith Jr., who's apparently an NBA player, and just guys other teams didn't want.
You got to get the W. We'll get to the spread tonight and whether or not the Kings will cover. It would be nice if they did, but ultimately just get the W. We go over the injury report for the Kings and the Hornets as well, and a little bit of pocket watching. What else is going on tonight around the league? Allen Stiles, Sacktown Sports.
Tonight, Kings and Hornets. King night with Scott Marsh and the high flyer Henry Turner starts at 5:30. Tip off at 7.
The Kings play here on Sacktown Sports.
Sacktown Sports, 1140.
You know, when it's all on the line, you need a big-time closer, and that's especially true when it comes to your garage door. And that's why I recommend National Garage Door, 638-4554. Whitey Gleason here for National Garage Door. Whether you're looking to repair an existing door or get a brand new one installed, you need National Garage Door. Family-owned and operated. They've been around since 1974 because service is their number one priority. National Garage Door are the region's BSE, it's broken spring experts. Styles, prices, and quality of the new doors will amaze you. Our garage door was starting to sound kind of, and that's not good. So Kevin from National Garage Door came out. He said patching up the old one was an option, but we're getting a new garage door. We're pretty happy about that. National Garage Door sells quality Rainer branded garage doors. They offer sales, service, and installation on all residential and commercial doors and operators. If you have garage door needs, old ones coming apart, or you're looking to improve your curb appeal, let National Garage Door come through for you in the clutch and be your closer. 638-4554, National Garage Door.
Sacramento's premier country music festival, Country in the Park, is coming back May 16th and 17th at Cal Expo with Bailey Zimmerman, Billy Currington, Cole Wetzel, Nate Smith, and more. You'll enjoy food trucks, rock walls, and a mechanical bull, line dancing, and more. Single-day GA tickets start at $52 at CITPFest.com. Country in the Park, May 16th and 17th with the California Army National Guard. Find out more at CITPFest.com.
Hi, I'm Justin Gingery from the law firm of Gingery, Hammer & Associates. When you have been injured by the fault of another, you will want advice you can trust. If you know an attorney you can trust, I hope you call that person. But if you don't, please call me. I promise I will be the attorney you can trust, along with my entire team. I have been helping accident survivors recover compensation for their injuries for 25 years, and we can help you. There is no charge for calling. If you have an injury, just call Gingery.
Listen for the Toyota Tahoe Report every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday with Johnny Mosley to get the latest weather conditions in Tahoe throughout this snow season. Brought to you by your local Toyota dealers. Toyota, let's go places.
Shop top brand tires at Big O with the lowest tire price guarantee. Now through March 16th at Big O Tires, get up to $100 instant savings on 4 select in-stock Nexen, Nitto, or Toyo tires. Installation required. Disposal fees extra. Not good with other offers. See Big O dealer for details.
High voltage live boxing action returns to the venue on March 8th as Uppercut Promotions presents Thunder Showdown 2. With 8 big fights, it's a night of great boxing action you won't want to miss. Thunder Showdown 2, coming March 8th to the venue at Thunder Valley Casino Resorts. Fight card subject to change.
Finally, an easy way to find home improvement contractors. Just visit subcontractorsunited.com and simplify your search for home services professionals. From cabinets to windows, roofing to plumbing, Subcontractors United is an easy, simple way to find and hire a home improvement contractor. And you never have to give up personal information. So no harassing phone calls like you get from those other websites. Subcontractorsunited.com is sponsored by D&D Cabinets and Savage Design.
There's no better time than now to get yourself into a brand new Jeep because it's Jeep Adventure Days at Sacramento Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, offering the best deals in town and a selection other dealers are jealous of. Stop on by. They're just off of Business 80 across from Hagen Oaks Golf Complex. Sacramento Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram.
Allen Stiles. Watch the show on youtube.com/Sacktown Sports 1140.
Or listen on the Sacktown Sports app.
For all you baseball fans out there, I mean, the home runs are just flying. As spring training is starting to heat up a little bit. Jung-Hoo Lee hit his first homer. I saw Lawrence Butler. That is my pick, my X factor to put butts in the. I mean, butts are going to be in the seats in Sutter Health, but Lawrence Butler is going to be a fan favorite by the time this season ends. And Lawrence Butler, he went long ball before. I think it was either over the weekend or on Friday. So, keeping up with some baseball here, whether it's the Giants or the A's, and it's some exciting stuff. What does it matter as far as the regular season is concerned? No clue. And the Giants, the Dodgers and the Padres are still in that division, and that's going to be tough. But as far as the A's are concerned, the Rangers are going to be tough. But let's not forget that extra wild card spot that got implemented a couple years back. So you never know with the A's, and I'm pretty optimistic. I really like their lineup. The Zach Geloffs and the JJ Bledays, great names on that team, by the way. Obviously they keep Brent Rooker, and Brent Rooker is really ingratiating himself with the Sacramento community. He's great on Twitter. If you haven't followed him yet, be sure to do that. I already talked about Lawrence Butler. They got Jacob Wilson, shortstop, who's coming up. So, I think it's going to be exciting stuff. Obviously, Mason Miller, they go out and get Luis Severino. So I think it's definitely going to be watchable baseball, and they might get spicy. Who knows? All right. And I don't think the Hornets are getting spicy at all. Here is their injury report. Brandon Miller is out, who was in the middle of starting to take that leap, and he's been out for a while now. Brandon Miller is out. Mark Williams is out. He's not playing as often. I mean, it looks like the Lakers were kind of on to something. I know he's coming back from injury, but he basically plays every other game. That's where Mark Williams is at right now.
Which is an improvement, because in his first 2.5 years, he played 82 games.
There you go. Josh Okogie, who he was supposed to save the Kings at some point. I remember talking about him being the guy that the Kings needed, and maybe he could have, and now he is stuck to just expire in Charlotte. Josh Okogie is out with hamstring. Daquan Jeffries is out as well. Trey Mann is out, former Clipper great. Is that Trey Mann?
That's the other one. That's his brother. That's Terrence Mann.
Terrence Mann.
Trey Mann is his brother.
Well, this man ain't playing either. It just says disc. Okay, so the disc. And Grant Williams, who got kicked out of the Mavericks locker room and subsequently traded, tore his ACL, so he's out too.
Grant Williams is one of the crazy. I think I've never been so wrong on a trade as saying I think that the Mavericks are going to regret trading Grant Williams for PJ Washington.
Yeah.
I could not have. How did the Boston Celtics make the NBA Finals with Grant Williams starting? How did that happen? I know he wasn't actually starting, but I'm just like, how was he a core piece of a team that went to the finals?
No clue. And I'm just looking here, Peg on the Sack Chat. Whose man's is this? Nicely done. That's a good one. Because I did not know.
This is the one that was on the Thunder, and people were like, "Oh, wait till Sam Presti gets his hands on him." And it's like, no, not him.
Other man. Players active for the Hornets: LaMelo Ball, Nick Smith Jr., Teja Stella. I mean, I am excited, and look, the hope is I do leave the game early again, shamelessly, because it's a blowout on the other side. Okay, there is no reason that I should be there when the fourth quarter buzzer goes off. There's no reason. All right.
You don't even want to see a beam?
I can see other beams.
You can see the beam from the toe, right?
Yes, I can. There's no reason. Miles Bridges.
I don't know if you're going home before the game either, but can we get Tejan Salon to sign your teal shirt?
That would make my day. And I'll say I still believe in you, brother. I still believe in you. Josh Green, Wendell Moore Jr., Musa Diabate, Yusuf Nurkic, Seth Curry, and Elfrid Payton, who had 20 assists in a game and then was released earlier this season.
Those 10-day contracts, man, they're really messy, but he's going to be playing whatever minutes LaMelo is not tonight.
The Kings are healthy, okay? And who's wearing what jersey and why, I don't care. In this game, I really don't care. If you did want to try something out, though, this would be the game to try something out. I will say that, but I think they're going to give the normal starters a go. Who knows, though? And ultimately, we'll see at 7 o'clock. Around the league, as far as a little bit of pocket watching, the Nuggets take on the Pacers, so they have to head to Indiana. The Timberwolves take on the Thunder. Man, kind of rough go. So the Timberwolves and Thunder did their weird. That's their weird back-to-back.
I think this is the first one, and then
no, they played last night.
Oh, so yeah, so this is the back-to-back.
Got it.
But
so,
in different cities, I think.
Ridiculous.
I think the first one was in Minnesota.
It was in Minnesota.
And then this one's in OKC.
It was, and the Thunder, they ended up taking care of business there. And the Timberwolves, they really had an opportunity. What was crazy was their rookie Jalen Clark was playing. I mean, he couldn't miss. 14 points in 18 minutes, goes down, bangs his head pretty bad, and that kind of changed the game. The Timberwolves were down 19 and came back to take the lead, and then OKC does what OKC does. A game where you have Nickeil Alexander-Walker scoring 18. That's a game and Jaden McDaniels scoring 17. You probably feel like you should win that one.
After tonight, you know how we talked about the strength of schedule stuff before this? Mm-hmm. After tonight, Minnesota is going to have the 29th or second easiest strength of schedule in the league going the rest of the way. Only the Toronto Raptors, who have caught a really good break. They are the only team with a easier schedule the rest of the way than the Timberwolves.
There you go. They will have that. That's really the biggest note there for around the league. I think the Clippers, Pistons, Kyle, you have that jotted down as well.
I think that's tonight. Yeah, the Clippers are at the Pistons, which, hey, the Clippers have to lose if the Kings are going to get the 6th seed.
Yeah, that's at 4. So that kicks off everything at 4 o'clock. Clippers at Pistons. I'm still getting used to the new Clippers logo. I won't see the red, and I'll just scroll right past it. So Clippers,
the ship that also has some sort of nautical reference in the sea.
That's right.
Yeah, I think those colors are kind of cool. I if you go back to the classic like bright red Clippers, I'd be fine. But like I think their jerseys are actually pretty cool.
Nima on the Sack Chat says, "Why are we talking as if we're not a bad team as well? It shouldn't be a surprise if we lose. We got to stop this."
I'm going to be quite frank with you. Is it Nima?
Yes.
And all of the good people of Sacramento. I've watched a lot of basketball in my life. I simply cannot comprehend a scenario where the Kings lose this game tonight. Just, I can't even fathom it in my head. I don't even know how bad they would have to play or what it would even look like. I just can't even comprehend a scenario where they don't win this game.
Obviously, it's completely different situations, but a lot was talked about, and we had a conversation about Doug Christie earlier in the show. Go check that out. Rewind on YouTube or check it out on the Sacktown Sports app. We had a conversation earlier about Doug Christie and what could happen if this thing goes off the rails. Mike Brown had that situation with the 5-game losing streak. Now, obviously, you had your team, right? And that was the team, and you had some bad losses in there. So I don't think it would be that bad, but again, you're still getting your players into the fold. I get all that. It would be more of an indictment, I think, on the team that was created than Doug Christie. But if you lose to the Pelicans, all right, before the break, the Warriors who are rolling, so maybe that saves you as far as how bad this thing looks, but they were the 9 or 10 seed when you lost to them. So you lose to the Pelicans, you lose to the Warriors. If you lose to the Charlotte Hornets at home after this meeting leaked, obviously there's no more coaches to fire, but this thing could get completely ugly.
Yeah.
Could get complete. And I don't even know what that means. 916, I knew this was coming. This is Louie, who also likes to boo Kyle. This guy, Kyle, is trying to jinx the Kings so bad right now. Come on, man. Boo. Thank you, Louie.
I'm just trying to be honest.
Thank you, Louie.
I'm trying to be honest with people. In my mind, going into games, I'm like, okay, what is the path to the other team? Like, what can they exploit from the Kings that they don't do well? And it's like, as long as LaMelo Ball doesn't go for 50, which he went for 5 in their last game.
Right.
I simply don't see a world where the Hornets can win. If you took every player on the Hornets and every player on the Kings and drafted them back and forth, I think you might take 6 Kings before you take 2 Hornets.
Yeah, I think it's beyond jinxing to me, because if you lose this game, I don't want to say the season's over, but I think that you would lose a lot of fans. And I know Kings best fans in the NBA, Sacramento Kings fans. I know. But if you lose this game to this team at home, 3-game losing streak, I don't know how you come back from it. It's more so about, do you even make the play? And I mean, luckily the Suns are just so terrible, but it would be, we're going back to the Mike Brown, De'Aaron Fox towards the end of both those eras where you're just walking the plank. That's what I think. So to me, this is beyond jinxing, because if you lose, this thing is pretty, again, it's a numbers game. It's pretty much, it's not over, but I would say you might want to stop thinking about the 7 seed. That's how I would say it.
This is a team that has 14 wins on the season. And to the texters and the Sack Chatters points, I get it's the Sacramento Kings.
Mm-hmm.
But this is more to do with the Hornets than it is Sacramento, right? This is a 14-win team that just lost by 53 points to Portland on Saturday.
That is the only argument for them cooking something up. There's a level of we stink, and there's a level of we just got embarrassed beyond belief. So I do think that they will try to not get embarrassed tonight.
But here's the kicker. Tonight's team is not even as good as the team that just lost in Portland because they don't have Mark Williams.
That's true.
This team is even more depleted than the team that just lost by 53 points against the Portland Trailblazers. So this is all to do about Charlotte. I know the Kings have not handled their business at times, and last year, God, they would lose games like this all the time.
Hold on now. Hold on. The game before the Blazers, they did lose. The Hornets did 115 and 129, so respectable. 14. I don't even think Denver might not have covered.
Maybe not
in that game.
I know where you're going though.
This gets crazy. The more I read this, the crazier it is. 115 and 129. Miles Bridges had 36 points. Josh Green had 19. Your boy Nick Smith Jr. had 16. They started Nurkic with 9. Damian Baugh, B-A-U-G-H, had 14. Musa Diabate had 11. LaMelo Ball didn't play. And they were respectable. So you add LaMelo into that mix.
I don't think Damian Baugh is available tonight because he's on a 2-way contract. So I think he's been recalled to Greensboro.
And somebody on the 209, they did beat the Lakers. I'm going through it right now.
Yeah, on Wednesday.
Hold on. Miles Bridges, 20. Miles Bridges is the guy here. Mark Williams did almost have a double-double. He had 10 points, 9 rebounds. But again, he's not playing tonight. LaMelo had 27, 5, and 6. This Nick Smith Jr. dude, he puts up double digits. 12 points. Nurkic had 0 points, 8 rebounds. Tejan, 3 points. Seth Curry had 10. So that game was more about the Lakers' offense. The Lakers didn't crack 100.
Go look at Luka's stat line from that game. It's
14, 11, and 8.
Yeah, and it's like 1 for 10 from the field and 0 for 9 from 3.
There we go. All right, we're way over on the other side. Prop Talk, dog segment, predictions, all from you, all from us to close out the show. Allen Stiles, Sacktown Sports.
Tonight, Kings and Hornets. King Night with Scott Marsh and the high flyer Henry Turner starts at 5:30. Tip-off at 7.
The Kings play here on Sacktown Sports.
Sacktown Sports, 1140.
Golf to Go is brought to you by the Hagen Oaks Golf Super Shop. Here's Frank LaRosa.
Miniature golf has been around America since 1916, with the first course opening in Pinehurst, North Carolina, according to Links magazine. Englishman James Barber built a course in his backyard called Lilliputian. A few years later, he built a second course and called it Thistledew. Unlike today's mini golf courses, This'll Do wasn't for children. The 18-hole course was made of compacted sand and clay, making it quite difficult. Today's clown mouths or windmills were nowhere to be found, as the course featured real hazards like rocks, trees, and grass bunkers. 4 holes even required a high-lofted niblick to carry bushes and long grass. Longest hole was 71 feet, shortest was 12. Golf fanatic Thomas McCullough Fairbairn revolutionized the game in 1922 with his formulation of a suitable artificial green consisting of a mixture of cottonseed hulls, sand, oil, and dye. 100 years later, This'll Do has returned to its home at Pinehurst Resort, and guests can play the new This'll Do. Please leave your niblick at home. That's your Golf to Go. I'm Frank LaRosa.
Coach Doug Christie here for your truck headquarters, Folsom Lake Ford. Shop all your favorite models on sale now, like America's best-selling F-Series. Check out a huge selection of Mavericks, F-150s, and Super Duty trucks, or tech-filled SUVs like Explorers and Expeditions. Plus a huge selection of Broncos and Bronco Sports. All in stock now at Folsom Lake Ford in the Folsom Auto Mall. Right now, buy any new Ford with 0 down on approval of credit. Save big with low interest finance rates. And Folsom Lake Ford always pays top dollar for your trade. Hurry to Folsom Lake Ford in the Folsom Auto Mall, a 6-time Triple Crown winner for sales and service excellence. That's why they are my trusted dealer, and they should be yours too. For 35 years and counting, come down and take a test drive today. Tell them Coach Doug Christie sent you, or shop online at FolsomLakeFord.com.
If you're 55 and up, T-Mobile has plans built just for you. 2 lines of unlimited for just $30 a line. That's a 45% savings compared to Verizon and AT&T. But don't just take our word for it.
It's not just the savings that are great with our T-Mobile plan. There's all this value from all these other things that T-Mobile offers.
T-Mobile has been such a savings for us.
We love it.
Switch today and get 2 free 5G phones like the Motorola Edge with Turbo Power charging that gives you power for the day in just 15 minutes. And customers 55 and up can get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for only $30 a line. Go to T-Mobile.com/choice55 to learn more. With AutoPay plus taxes and fees, plus $5 per line without AutoPay. Debit or bank account required. 45% off 2 lines versus AT&T Starter and Verizon Welcome. Plan benefits vary. Motorola Edge on us with 24 monthly bill credits and new line for well-qualified customers, plus tax and $35 per line connection charge. See details at T-Mobile.com. Motorola Edge requires 68-watt charger. Charger sold separately. Actual performance will vary based on usage and configuration.
Tom's Watch Bar has the best happy hour in Sacramento, starting with $5 specials all day, every day. Plus select $7 appetizers and $12 entrees with 360-degree viewing and game day vibes that match being at the game. Tom's Watch Bar is the ultimate game day experience for sports fans.
Allen Stiles
You can join the show by texting 916-339-1140
on Sacktown Sports.
Yeah, can they play this tonight with LaMelo being in the building? Don't want him to get in his bag with his brother's song on.
What if they played it during the starting lineup?
Hey, I mean, I'm sure LaMelo deep down is probably sick of that song.
Nah.
Yes.
Didn't he get like production credit for the song?
No, I think that was Lonzo. Lonzo wrote something. They all did something.
Lonzo got the cover art. That's what it was.
Yeah.
He took the photo for the cover art.
There you go. Well, we have predictions, we have prop talk, and we have dog segments. And we will start off with the prop talk.
Let it drop.
Mm-hmm. All right, Kyle. So my collab with Whitey didn't go as planned. Actually, it wasn't even close.
So you mean Whitey's fault?
Yeah, that's right. So I don't know why Whitey would tell us to do this. I think Jimmy was on Zach LaVine a little bit more than I thought he would be. So, he only got to 16 points and assists. It was a blowout. It was a mess. So I'm just going to keep it simple. I'm going to double down, okay? I think that Zach LaVine has heard a lot of talk from people like me that said he's been standing in the corner, okay? And I think that this is an opportunity for Zach LaVine to go to work. Also, fun fact, Zach LaVine is 10-3 against the Charlotte Hornets. He likes playing against the Charlotte Hornets. Zach LaVine is still set at 26.5 points and assists. Give me the over there. It feels like a lot. and I know I know that we should be playing some unders, not because we think the Kings are going to do poorly, but the exact opposite. If the Kings do blow out the Hornets, that might get a little bit dicey, but somebody's got to score and somebody's got to ball out in order for them to get the blowout. And I just think that Zach LaVine is the one where there's been a lot of conversation about his role, going back to the reports from shoot around. They've had a little bit more time together, more conversations about who should be doing what. And I think that Zach LaVine, there is an emphasis on Zach LaVine tonight. So that's also part of the reason. You could just take his points. I'm taking the assists as well because I do think he will be handling the ball. So I'm going to go 26.5. Zach LaVine, points and assists. Give me the over.
Okay, I like it. So he's not on the banned list yet.
No, but if he's not close tonight, the ban list might be around the corner.
Okay, just wanted to check in because it took 5 times with De'Aaron Fox points for you to get there. This is only 2.
Right.
So third time's the charm, right?
De'Aaron got on my ban list when I took the discounted prop, and he still didn't get it. That was when I officially banned him.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So which hurt more, that one for you or me on Friday going Domantas Sabonis 37.5 points, rebounds, and assists, and him finishing with 14, 14, and 9, which adds up to 37.
Yeah. No, hey.
That one,
I don't know how he pulled it off with the blowout.
He almost had a triple-double, which you talked about meaningless triple-doubles for Jokic. Sabonis was pretty close to a meaningless triple-double.
Yeah.
So I mentioned earlier some of the empty calories with LaMelo Ball, which I just want to reiterate some of the crazy points here. He is 8th in points per game this year, but he's also first in shots per game, and he's a whole shot and a half ahead of any player not named SGA. He's shooting more three-pointers per game than Steph Curry, despite being 5.5% lower from 3 than Steph.
Right.
He has the worst field goal percentage by volume in the league. He has the highest usage rate in the league, higher than any Kobe Bryant season except 2006. The nerd stats have him like 35th in efficiency rating. He's like 67th in LeBron rating. Like, he's just... And the Hornets stink without him, but he's having one of the most empty calorie seasons in NBA history. So his prop talk tonight is set at 26. And in the last 11 games he's played, he's only gone for 26 one time. And it was a 27-point game a few nights ago. So 26.5 for LaMelo Ball. I would go under on that. Double team him, triple team him.
I don't see how he gets there.
The Hornets literally cannot win without a LaMelo Ball halfway decent game.
Yeah.
So just pride out the window. Double team LaMelo, force the ball out of his hands. It's fine. Or just put Keon Ellis on him. Whatever you want to do. The Hornets just cannot win without an offensive producing game from LaMelo Ball. So I'm just going to say under 26.5 for LaMelo Ball points, and that will be the key to a Sacramento Kings victory, because if he's not going for 40, I simply cannot conceive of a world where they lose this game.
I like that. The volume scares me, but to the point, if you just, because look at Steph, right? If I'm not mistaken, the Warriors, the Kings did exactly what they did last time against Steph, and Steph didn't hit his points, but they beat the brakes off the Kings, right? So obviously that's a different situation, but the Kings are basically saying somebody else is going to beat us tonight.
I guess it's a good comparison because I cannot stress how funny this is. LaMelo is taking 11.7 threes per game.
Yeah.
And Steph Curry, who's second in the league, is only taking 11. It's crazy how this offense works.
Yeah, if the only way he gets to 26 is, again, if the Kings take control, decide to not take their foot off the gas, but don't double him, and he's sitting at 10 something at halftime, and he sneaks there with some garbage right before garbage time ends. Only way I can see
right before they yank the starters.
Exactly.
Which the Kings have been a good third quarter team at times. Maybe that's where they pull away. And also historically in the NBA, where you see the difference between really bad teams and even decent teams is the third quarter. Like sometimes bad teams will keep it close, and then the third quarter is like, okay, now we're not messing around and we can just pull away from you. So that'll probably, I don't want to say will happen, but there's a good chance they'll be up big, and LaMelo hopefully won't have a 30-point game that keeps him in it, because their offense is bad with LaMelo Ball. Without LaMelo Ball, they've got no answers.
All right. Let's let the dogs out.
Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out?
It is time to let the dogs out. And this is an easy one for me. I might even be doubling down on this guy too, but I'm going to go with Keon Ellis. Whether he is a starter or not a starter, I think that Keon Ellis, coming off of I wouldn't call it a rough game offensively, but he's running around guarding Steph. I think he should have guarded Steph more. I think we saw too much Keegan on Steph. I'm going to go with Keon Ellis to be the dog tonight. I think that he shuts down LaMelo when he's in it. I don't know what all he does offensively, but I think that is the easiest key to winning this game and winning this game comfortably. So I got Keon Ellis.
I really just be chilling for real.
Thank you, Keon.
Yeah. I shouldn't waste the good vibes
you should
tonight.
not.
No? Don't do it?
No, don't do it.
No?
I wouldn't do it.
Okay. I won't waste the good DeMar DeRozan streak for a game like tonight. We talked about Jake LaRavia a little bit earlier and how he's been struggling offensively. Certainly. He's been doing good things on defense, but he's been a negative in the plus minus, I think, all but like one game as a Sacramento King so far. So, you know what? Maybe tonight's the night Jake LaRavia finally has a couple shots go down and the good vibes kind of come back for him. I think he's shooting like 1 for 10 from the 3-point line as a King right now.
Yeah.
So maybe tonight's the night that the good vibes come back. Yeah, correct. So he is 1 for 10 as a Sacramento King. And
I remember the one. I remember the one for sure.
Yeah, in 5 games, it's not going great. So you know what? I believe in you, Jake LaRavia. Let's hope for something good happening for him tonight. I don't know what that means. Maybe he gets to 2 3-pointers made. I don't know. But let's just Jake LaRavia coming off the bench. I hope he has a couple steals, a couple blocks. Remember that like 90 seconds when he first came in and he had like a block, a steal, a layup. It was so nice. So I'll go Jake LaRavia, dog of the game.
There you go. 530 says, my dog is LaRavia, 15 points. All right, we like that. And if you are looking for someone to trail or tail, RJ Alexander in the Sack Chat says, all I know is I went big on Nurkic over 9.5 rebounds and Domas over 15 rebounds. Okay, RJ, we see you out there. And thank you for listening to the Allen Stiles Show. The Drive Guys are up next. Whitey Gleason, Kyle Draper, Jay Johnson. I will be listening to see if Kyle has anything to say about this show, Mr. Draper. But thanks for everybody. Callers, sexers, sack chatters. Kyle, great job as always. And until tomorrow, secure the bag like the beam.
This is Chris Haynes, and you've been briefed.
Gotta go. Got somewhere to be?
Take Sacramento Kings basketball with you. The Sacktown Sports app will let you